800-208-8642. That's 800-208-8642.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
Game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
we don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a big good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Alabama gets the win, but a lot of folks in Tuscaloosa really a little bit down, right? 42-16, 3 quarters of football, not pretty in Tuscaloosa. We're going to react to that. We're going to take your phone calls. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. Celebrate those special Alabama fans in your life. DanielMooreArt.com. When you look at Alabama beating South Florida, the offensive line, when you look at this is the new college football. And I wrote this in the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can check it out, Tide109.com. Certainly a lot of bad, certainly a lot of ugly, and a few good things, right? When you look at the defensive side of the football, 2 weeks in, maybe in some areas a little further ahead than where they thought they would be. But on the offensive side of the football, when you look at the tackles, not where they need to be. When you think about this, and certainly some growing pains that have been there, and I think they're not going away. I think this is where they're going to be. When you think about, Caden Proctor getting back at some point, but you're going to have to toughen up. I think this is the world that we live in. When you think about now, if you're a quality backup, what have you done? You've hit the portal, right? If you think that you should be a first stringer and you're a second stringer, you're gone. I think this is where we're at. The first person who said it to me that really spoke out about it was Kirby Smart. And it was probably 4 weeks ago. And when it comes from a place like Georgia, who is established, this is Kirby Smart's 10th year at Georgia. Think about the depth. Think about from their standpoint when they're out here talking about depth. And now we've seen a Georgia football team that's been able to handle Clemson. I don't know how good Clemson's going to be, but obviously knocking out Tennessee Tech the way they did. But Georgia's got some tough roads ahead of them as well. And I think Kirby also said it. There's not going to be an undefeated team in the SEC. I think I agree with him on that standpoint as well. We're going to dive into what looked good, what went bad. Will Alabama be able to fix this? And, I'd like to start a GoFundMe account if it's okay. If you guys will pitch in a little bit, we're going to see if we can offer South Florida a little bit of money because we don't want to play those guys in 2026. No, I'm not backing off South Florida. We'll see you guys in 2026. But I think when you look at this team, they've been a thorn for Alabama. They've been a thorn in Alabama. They don't have that name, but they've got a lot of the players. I think you've seen some programs down in the Sunshine State. Maybe South Florida's the beneficiary when you look at a 42-6 victory. 42-16 victory, and some things that went right for Alabama in the end. But I think you could also look back and think about South Florida. If they'd had a little bit more of an accurate quarterback, we could be sitting here talking about DeBoer's first L. And we'll react to that. We're going to talk about it. We'll talk about Alabama's Wisconsin trip. Camp Randall is one of those places that's pretty hostile. And you know that the Caden Proctor story is going to come up, right? When you think about Caden Proctor trying to get back, I'd hate to know my first start of 2024 was against the Georgia Bulldogs in that defensive front, so I think he needs the reps when you look at Wisconsin. So hopefully they can get him back and ready to go. I heard late last week, and some of those that are historians, I know Paul and Lincoln will be the first caller, Greg and Athens will be the second phone call, and then we'll get to others right here in just a couple of minutes. But when you look back at, I cannot remember being in a situation. Now, you could point out situations like Evan Neal. Barrett Jones was a guard initially. Then he moved to tackle. Then he moved to center his final senior season there. But when you think about moving from guard to tackle, you guys help me out. Maybe this happened more in the Wishbone era, but it's one of those that just kind of helps you identify that. And when you have two key spots, two injuries to a spot where you're already thin at, you're in a little bit of trouble. And I think that's where the world of college football, and I think this offensive line, at some point, it'll take a couple of games to hopefully get gelled together. But really, you don't know if you have a couple of games, right? You got Wisconsin on the road, Georgia, and then a Vanderbilt team that I'm not here to make out of world beaters, but Vanderbilt looks like somewhat of an alive football program. Maybe they're headed back in the right direction. And for Vanderbilt standards, you got to go to Nashville. So you got to come back to Wisconsin on the road, come back to Tuscaloosa for a bye week, and then get ready for Georgia. Then you go to Vanderbilt, and then South Carolina, which had a pretty impressive victory up in the Bluegrass State. And then you got to go to Knoxville. So it's not going to get any easier when you look at South Florida. We can't make them out to being the Dallas Cowboys, or the Chicago Bears, or the Kansas City Chiefs. They were who they thought they were, and they came in with a different environment. And hey, it created some problems from Alabama. Alabama hopefully can learn from this, and we'll talk about it. We'll play some audio. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can read more about mine at Tide109.com. But I can't wait to hear your opinions. Also going to get into a couple different things. I know I had a late comment late last week, but I think I've got another one that I'm going to share with you a little bit, and maybe a little bit of a disappointment. Probably not even talking to the audience that we're talking about here today, but I'm going to dive into it from my standpoint locally here in Tuscaloosa. A little bit embarrassed of some of our fans, just a little bit. Not like I said, I'm probably not even talking to the audience that participated, but I saw a lot of social network posts that I'm going, man, either there's a lot of fake news out there. But very disappointed from a local standpoint, seeing so many different things, social networks, Twitter, Facebook. But, hey, that's the world we live in the world of college football. That's where we're at. We are always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. If you're looking for a new Tundra, Tacoma, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, how about a 4Runner, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, Camry, Corolla, RAV4, Highlander, it is Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Drew DeArmond's going to lead us out of the gate. We'll talk to Barry and Salee at 3:30, and then right to your phone calls. Paul and Lincoln first up. Greg in Athens. Martin Houston will also join us at 4 o'clock. We'll take phone calls. Plenty of time. 3 15-minute guests, and then we're right back to you. So 3 hours and 15 minutes belongs to you. We'll take that interaction. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. We'll roll on. We'll take your phone call.
When you're short on your dough, you can't stay there. And I'm sure you will find
welcome you right back into the game. Drew DeArmond's going to get the first crack at this thing. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore, and the bad and the ugly is sponsored by your Auburn cheerleaders. Congratulations to you. Appreciate your sponsorship. You guys have been very loyal on the bad and the ugly. I really appreciate it, and I got that check the other day, so we'll continue doing the bad and the ugly is sponsored by the Auburn cheerleaders and probably the Auburn football team as well. I saw some metrics out there. Brian Harson's got a 1-game lead on Hugh Freeze. Hey, California, dangerous football team, very dangerous. South Florida was as well. Could have been a little bit worse. Right now, Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville. Drew DeArmond, how are you, my friend? Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit. I got a little bit of a cold. That the press box is used. I don't know if you realize this, but during the week they use it as a freezer. We just get to use it on game day. So it's chilly up there, which I love. But I'm suffering for that today, a little bit on the cold side of things.
Are you joking about Hugh Freeze, Ryan?
Just a little bit. Yes. California's a dangerous football team, Drew. It is. It's a dangerous football team.
Well, Peter Thurman, he seemed to have Hugh Freeze's number there. They've had some of the same issues: the quarterback production, some of the supposed routes not being run properly by receivers, but I still think they lost the game mainly because the offensive and defensive lines aren't good enough. Certainly, Keldrick Falk did some good things along Auburn's defensive line, but you have to win games inside out. And I just don't think Auburn is good enough right now to do that. And of course, I think, I'll just quote Nick Saban, but I'll censor it from a week ago. If you choose the wrong guy, you're bleep out of luck. So.
That's true. If you don't believe me, ask the Cleveland Browns on on the quarterback situation. I mean,
they owe him several million more. And look, And in Bryce Young's defense, he has nothing around him. That's the worst organization, worst football team in the NFL. You've got to protect the quarterback. You've got to give him a chance to succeed. And Auburn tried to do that with Peyton Thorne, but it just looks like to me that he's just not a good fit for what they do. Whether they should have gone and gotten Caden Salter, who he had at Liberty, or, Riley Leonard or whatever. And even though Riley Leonard is not, but, 1988, Brian Fowler, I was able to sing the fight song in the press box this past Saturday. Cheer, cheer for old Notre Dame. You just lost the freaking game. Of course, I used something else, but we all know what I did. And I did, if anybody was checking out my X account, I did say hashtag 1988. It's glorious. So I had fun with that.
And I want to tie that to the conversation. Let's go to Alabama, and I'll loop back around, and we'll talk about that victory for Northern Illinois against Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But let's go to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Give me your good from Alabama win this past week.
Well, first and foremost, I think the team responded as a whole like champions in the fourth quarter. As I tweeted out earlier today, and I know what kind of relationship you have with A.J. McCarron, but an Alabama quarterback can struggle for 3+ quarters, but all that matters is what the scoreboard says. And I kind of equate, I know it's not as good an opponent, and even though I do think South Florida is, is a contender in the American and very likely a bowl team, and they won a bowl game last year, had a winning season. But I just think Milroe struggled through the first 3 quarters, but when it mattered and the game was at stake, he made the play, just like A.J. McCarron did in 2012, because if you remember, at one point he was 1 for 7 for a yard.
He was
in the second half. Yeah. And then he drove the team down to win the game. He was very emotional. But Milroe, he did his job. He led the team. I don't think his job is in any kind of danger. I think that's ridiculous. He's a 2-time captain for a reason. And again, did he not step up in the pocket a couple of times? Yes, but you have to understand also it was a revamped offensive line, a makeshift one, and they struggled a little bit. So, but I thought the way the team responded was part of the good. I thought Milroe was in the fourth quarter, and then I'll be honest, I thought another couple things. I thought the biggest play in the game was made by a freshman, Jalen Mbakwe, 28-yard punt return to get Alabama on the doorstep at the 34-yard line. And then we talked about this in the preseason, Ryan, and we never mentioned him as being a possibility to be this guy. But we all said that the defensive line needed a war daddy up front. Well, they have one, and his name is Tim Keenan III, and he's the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. He had 9 tackles, a sack and a half, and he was a beast the entire game, Ryan. He may not look the part. He's kind of like the William Vallejo of the defense. He's not the height and the length that you want, but he's a football player. He's built like a manhole cover or a fire hydrant or whatever you want to say, but he knows how to play football. And right now, he's the best defensive lineman in a Crimson Tide uniform, and I thought he played an outstanding game. I thought Jihad Campbell was outstanding as well. He had double-digit tackles, and I just thought Alabama's defense, it was a bright, I thought for the most part, a bright spot because they were put in some difficult situations, with the offensive line struggles and then the 3 turnovers in the second half, but they stood on their heads. They forced 3 field goals, and they were able to limit South Florida and to 16 points. And I think in this era of college football, that's more than good enough.
Drew, let's go to this left tackle situation, and I wrote it as part of my good, bad, and ugly. And when you look at 2 guys at left tackle, Drew, is it fair to say, other than quarterback, left tackle's most difficult position on the football field? Well,
I think I said this on my show and on our Morning Blitz show this morning. I think right now in the NFL, the most valuable positions in football, the top 2, are quarterback and right and left tackle. Doesn't even really matter which side. You've got to protect the quarterback. And I think left tackles, especially because the majority of quarterbacks are right-handed. But still, I think, yes, it's a very important position. And then going into the season, I know a big question mark was Alabama's secondary. but what was the other one? It was right tackle. And then Caden Proctor gets hurt because what did we say? Alabama didn't have a lot of depth, quality depth, at the offensive tackle spot. Didn't have a lot of guys. And at one time they didn't have Caden Proctor. He came back after spring. Elijah Pritchett even went in the portal for a brief time, Ryan. Think about that. And then Wilkin Formby had never played in a game. So, and then Miles McVay right now is a developing redshirt freshman. Naquil Betron, he's another one that's developing. He spent a year wasting his career playing for Dirt Neck. Guy had to get the hell out of there and come learn something. So he's not ready either. So they've got guys, but, they got Ty Haywood coming in. They got Jackson Wood, but they're freshmen. The transfer portal and NIL has robbed a lot of depth of places, and Alabama just doesn't have it right now at offensive tackle, and that's why you saw Tyler Booker have to swing from left guard to left tackle. I don't think he played tackle since he was at IMG Academy, but in all things considered, I thought he did a good job, but he should probably be part of the good as far as he tried to lead, and he gave his best effort playing a position that he's really not suited for. He's really a guard.
Well, and Drew, I think about, this is going to get me in trouble, but I think about players like Jonah Williams who refused to go to left tackle. He refused to switch because, he really wasn't willing to do that, right? There's been other players that have been selfish. In this current system that we live in now with the depth issue, if you've got that, or Lord forbid, if you've got a virus that cranks up and you eliminate, a few of your players, I just don't know where we're going with college football. I mean, I think we're going to limp into the playoffs. I'm talking about from everybody. I don't know what the champ's going to look like because injuries are part of the collision sport that we call football. You're going to have it. You're going to have major injuries that is going to catch up. The problem is you just don't have the depth to clean that up. I just think this is where we're at.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the ugly. The ugly is the transfer portal and the NIL, and they've got to get it under control because there's almost too much player movement. And ugly is the SEC officiating because you and I have both seen some of the replays. Some of these calls are garbage.
They were.
These people should have to stand in front of the media or someone and explain themselves for some of this garbage. And these guys were paid thousands of dollars a piece, okay? They're paid well. It's a hard job, but some of this stuff is crap. And, and then some of these crews, man, it's just like they get flag happy and they want to call it so tight. And, and again, it was called both ways. Alabama had 13 penalties for 120 yards. South Florida had 11 for 92. But, again, it's just too damn flag happy and there's no rhythm in the game. So, again, I just want to say I know that there was some bad, and we'll talk about that. But the ugly to me is where we are because of NIL and transfer portal with depth on these football teams and people just leaving and not staying the course and developing. And then the officiating, which to me, and targeting, I hate it. I hate the rules. I watched the replay. I mean, it was hard for me to tell from my vantage point in the press box, so I had to see it afterward. I guess, if you go by the book, and you can say it's textbook or whatever you want to say. I just hate the rule, okay? I don't think that what we saw – I thought what Justin Jefferson did was a football play. He hit a guy hard. He didn't lead with his helmet. I don't like the rule. I think it should be something else that should be revised. Just like when they first put the rule in 2012, there's a video out there on YouTube if you want to see me have an aneurysm. When Alabama was playing Johnny Boy, I guess it was 2013. Let me correct myself. I think the rule was put in 2012, but it was the 2013 Alabama-Texas A&M game in College Station, and Clinton Dix is called for targeting, which was garbage, and they overturned it and still gave him a 15-yard penalty. If you don't target somebody, how is it a penalty? Well, they had to change that. Well, they need to revise the targeting rule again because I hate the thing. I just think it penalizes guys for hitting someone hard. It's not like every hard hit has to be reviewed for targeting.
Yeah, great point.
And I think
every hard hit. I mean, it goes back, Drew. It's the wussification of our society, and it's worked its way over to football. I mean, we're soft as a baby.
Democratic way of thinking.
Hard to argue with that. Let's go to the bad. I mean, I don't know. You probably mentioned enough ugly. We could probably spread it over some bad. When you think about it, what was your bad?
Well,
tackling was mine. I mean, I thought tackling in certain areas.
No, I just have to say it because these guys are highly paid. Okay, and this NIL, you're gonna have to be called out individually. I thought 56 was horrendous. Gino Vandermark, he didn't get it till June, but he's got to be better than that. He's an older guy that's played a lot of football. But I'm going to quote Stone Cold Steve Austin here. You're out of the Bush leagues. You're in the big league. You're out of the Big Ten. You're in the SEC. You got to play better than that. And I think he got these officials kind of lathered up. They started calling stuff, and then they started, it was basically the entire. I just thought they started zeroing in on Vandermark. He started getting called for stuff, and then I just didn't think he played very well overall. And then Wilkin Formby. I mean, but I will say this for Wilkin: he's a young kid. He's not an older guy like Vandermark, who's played a lot of college football. Wilkin Formby is a redshirt freshman who really probably needs more seasoning. I mean, he's busted his tail. He's the reason Caden Proctor's back because they're roommates and best friends. And so Proc gets hurt. He's out of the lineup. And Wilkin, he's been competing with Elijah Pritchett. And by all reports, he'd been ahead of him. But you look at Elijah Pritchett, and this is part of my bad. He has got to be in the lineup. I know he had a quote-unquote ankle, but when you saw him come in the game the last 6 minutes, it made a huge difference. And he looked healthy to me. So, to me, he's got to grow up. And because Elijah Pritchett can make $30 million a year playing in the NFL. He's that talented.
But Drew, he doesn't have the want to. He's got to be able to get that want to back, okay?
That's what I mean.
And I'm talking about, throughout the offseason, the entire offensive line went to Dallas. Well, who was missing? Elijah Pritchett. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, he's got to have a want to, and right now I don't know if that want to's there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's obvious after watching this team play 2 games that Elijah Pritchett and Caden Proctor, if healthy, should be the tackles on this team. Allowing Wilkin Formby to continue to develop. Allowing Miles McVay, Naquil Veteran, all those guys, they need to develop because these are 2 guys that have NFL talent. Because we all saw, Caden Proctor improve as the year went on. Sure, it was rough at times, but he improved. Elijah Pritchett's in his 3rd year. He needs to grow up and become a dude, okay? Whether it's the right side, the left side, it's probably going to be the right. He needs to be that guy. And he proved that by playing with his hair on fire late in this game and sealing it against South Florida. Hopefully last year, we all know what happened with Milroe. He was basically suspended for the South Florida game, but he responded ad nauseum. He became the leader of that team. He won the locker room. He is that dude. He's QB1. And he played well the rest of the year. He led the team to an SEC championship. He beat Kirby Smart and in Georgia, and they're 1-9 against Alabama in their last 10, or maybe even 1-10 their last 11. I've lost count. They got their ass beat so many times. But anyway, Kirby's 1-5 against Alabama, and Jalen Milroe outplayed Carson Beck, and so Alabama won that game, and they went to the playoff. And I think I think Jalen Milroe grew exponentially. What needs to happen coming out of this game is Elijah Pritchett needs to do the same thing. They have to have him on the field, whether it's him and Wilkin Formby or him and Caden Proctor back. Ideally, it's Proctor back. But, again, we know he's injured. It's a legitimate injury that he's fighting through and rehabbing. But, I think Wilkin Formby will learn from this. I think he'll be better. But the bad thing is, like I said, the injuries to the offensive line, putting guys in positions that, maybe aren't ready yet. And then the biggest thing, Elijah Pritchett has to grow up because he has NFL talent. He's being paid NIL money, but that's peanut compared to what he can make in the NFL if he wants to be a 10-year pro. Hopefully, this was a big time. I was asked about a wake-up call. There should only be one wake-up call coming out of this game against South Florida, and that's 57. Get your ass in gear and play football to your capability.
Drew, let's go back to the world of college football. What's a 12-team playoff going to look like this year? I mean, is it going to be survival of whoever at the end? I mean, we heard, Kirby Smart should be, as far as depth-wise, better than anybody in the country. And 3 weeks ago, after a scrimmage, he went on I wouldn't say a rant, but a mini conversation talking about depth. He's never seen this in the world that they live in. We're talking about Georgia. We're talking about a program that's established. They've been there. Certainly Alabama is, but you also have a coaching transition, which, leaded to the transfer portal kind of, amping it up a little bit. What's college football going to look like? I'm not talking about 2 years from now. I'm talking about this year.
Well, I mean, it is kind of going to be a kind of a battle of attrition. You've got to keep yourself healthy. You've got to keep getting better every week. You've got to keep your players engaged because, heck, the transfer portal will open. You want to make sure guys stay on your team. That is crazy as that sounds. But I understand where Kirby's coming from because, Ryan, I watched quite a bit of the Oklahoma State-Arkansas game. And for long stretches of that game, I think he may have ended up he wasn't a target. He got a big penalty late, a late hit. But Arkansas's best linebacker was Xavier Sori, a 5-star that transferred from Georgia. So there was another guy that could have been with the Dogs. And I think that's what Kirby's talking about. It's very hard to keep your team together. He's admitted that he deals with it, and they try to do the best they can. But it's going to be a battle of attrition. You got to keep your guys healthy. You got to practice smart. And you got to have open dialogue and communication. And it's even more a relationship building situation. Okay. It's, because again, the players have all the power. So the coaches have to earn their trust and they have to put them in a great position. And then you got to get a little lucky. You got to stay healthy because there are certain positions like Alabama. They need Elijah Pritchett. And if Caden Proctor can get healthy enough to come back, those cats need to stay healthy for this season for Alabama to have a chance to win the SEC championship and reach the college football playoff. Because even Alabama, as talented as they are, they don't have enough quality bodies at offensive tackle. You saw the game on Saturday. Alabama, that was the we just talked about part of the bat. The offensive line struggled for 3+ quarters. Now give Tony Orlando and the defensive staff at South Florida some credit. They smelled blood. They sent pressure all over the place. But again, you'll see more games like that if you have to put guys on the field that aren't ready to roll. And no team is immune from it. Every team has had guys leave, and every team has depth issues. So you just have to hope that you get a little lucky. You got to cross your fingers, your toes, and everything else. Because, look, Notre Dame thought they had it on easy street after they beat Texas A&M. The very next week, Northern Illinois beats them. So, again, there's nothing guaranteed in this business. Alabama's got to have their mind right going to Wisconsin because Luke Fickell's a very good football coach. They played against him when he was at Cincinnati. They had good talent. Alabama won the game 27-6, but they had to earn everything. Probably going to have to do the same thing in Wisconsin. So I'm very anxious to see Kalen DeBoer's team because Nick Saban, to me, what set him apart is his teams usually were always ready to roll on the road, Ryan. They did a great job of compartmentalizing, getting their mind right, and understanding that they were everybody's Super Bowl and that you really had to show up and be sharp and play well on the road. For the majority of his time in Tuscaloosa, for really most of it, they did that. And so, again, this will be Kalen DeBoer's first opportunity. But, Wisconsin's 2-0. They haven't been super impressive, but they were probably holding some things back. And Alabama certainly probably was too. But it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think Alabama should cover this. I think they're the much better football team, but you've got to start fast, and you've got to play a lot cleaner than you did this past Saturday night.
Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville, Alabama. Drew, I appreciate you, man. I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. Thank you, as always, for being a part of our show. I'll talk to you next Monday.
Yes, sir, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Drew D, 977 ESPN, 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville. We're taking your phone calls. Paul and Lincoln coming back in just a couple of minutes. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. Here, but before we go to Paul and Lincoln, I want to play this for Paul and Lincoln. This is his favorite coach talking about his favorite quarterback. Fired up, Jackson. I won't even tell him what it is. Paul, this is for you.
us not executing the offense from the quarterback position, truthfully. We just didn't, I've got a reel of about 15 plays that it's just things we've got to get right and are typically done right in practice. And our coaching staff feels like maybe we attempted to carry too much because of all the different looks that they give you, which they do, and they did a good job with that. And instead of us just, man, this is who we are, and let's do what we know we can do, where there's a clear mind, clear head, and I assure you the package will not be big moving forward for this week, and so that we can get an accurate picture of, is this going to be a reoccurring theme where we have to make decisions? So we probably carried a bit too much, but we just missed some very simple things that keep us ahead of the chains and not in those third and longs, which we just can't live in.
All right. Paul and Lincoln, I'll let you clean that up for us. I hope all is well. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
What a stinking fraud that idiot is. He's an absolute fraud. Remember, Ryan, after the Music City Bowl, the clown said he spent too much time recruiting, not enough time working the game plan? Now the idiot is saying that they put too much of the game plan in. What a complete fraud. Let's all embrace the suck. That's S-A-U-C-K.
Yeah.
That A-U stands for Auburn got its ass kicked by a bunch of liberals, okay?
7-loss California team last year. 7-loss California team.
Check this out, Ryan. You got a team. When the Pac-12 disbanded, they had no home. Cal had nowhere to go. The Big 12 didn't want them. The Big 10 didn't want them. They finally got a lifeline from the ACC. Okay, they had to travel 3 time zones to get to Lee County. Okay, 3 time zones, and I'm sure when they laid eyes on that stadium, they thought, "My God." I thought it mattered more in the SEC. What a dump that place is, okay?
And if it's okay,
Jordan-Hare Stadium.
If it's okay, I'd like to call out a few of our, part-time Bama fans that picked Auburn on the SEC Parlay Pick Contest. We'll start with Robert in Mobile. He took Auburn. Robert, shame on you. Shame on you, Robert. Robert, we love you, but, that was a bad pick. Cole in Northport, shame on you, okay? Cole, we love you, but you picked Auburn, so you have to eat crow, just like the Auburn fans have to eat crow. Let's go down through this list. Joe in Dothan, who is always, he's one of your...
Oh, no, not Joe. Not Joe.
He did.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, he picked Auburn.
Oh,
Joe. Your boy Tony picked Auburn. Your boy Tony.
T-Town Tony?
T-Town Tony picked Auburn. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
All eat boogers, Tony?
Jared in Houston, Texas. He picked Auburn.
Oh, my Lord. Mercy.
Kit Kat down in Mobile. She picked Auburn. Yes.
Not poor old Kit Kat.
Yep, she did.
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable.
So we're not going to let them celebrate this California win.
Ryan, the vaulted Jordan-Hare Stadium, do you realize the Bugs have lost 3 out of their last 4 games in Jordan-Hare Stadium? New Mexico State, Alabama, and now the Cal Berkeley Golden Bears. Are you kidding me? What a joke. What an embarrassment. And I think you need to throw a little crow at Coach Saban and Kirk Herbstreit. On game day, they were drooling Saturday morning.
Coach Saban.
They were drooling over
you doing,
Hugh
Coach?
Hefner, Hunter Harsin, and the Auburn Tigers. They were talking about what a huge year the Boogers was going to have.
This was your weekend, Coach, and you had to suck up to the blue and orange? Come on, Coach Saban, please.
I don't know why Nick's got this love fest for Hugh Hefner Harsin. But he needs to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was reverse rat poison, but I don't think Nick's like that, I really don't. But what a joke. What an embarrassment to the state of Alabama. I mean, you travel across 3 time zones, Ryan, and you come in there. And listen, after the first drive by the Bugs, Cal controlled that game from there on out. They totally controlled that football game. They beat the Bugs in the trenches, both offensive and defensive lines. And Peyton Thorne is exactly who I thought he was. Okay? Exactly. And let's shut down this quarterback whisperer, Hugh Hefner, Hunter Freeze, okay? Listen, that ship has sailed, okay? You hear me? It's sailed.
Let's bring it back to the main team, Paul, because Hugh looks like he's waiting for a buyout or he can sell out to wherever he needs to sell out to.
What a clown. What an absolute
But Auburn
clown.
has always bought their way out of the gully, and now there is no way to get out of it. I mean, everybody's paying players.
Well, let's say they paid Gus $21 million. They're paying the Boise Bandit $15 million. I wonder how much they'll owe Hugh Hefner.
Fair enough.
All right, I'm done. I'm finished.
Let's go to the main team, the Crimson Tide. Little sloppy.
Well, they were. It's good to work on things, multiple things, after a win, unlike the Bugs, okay?
Okay.
So I'm certainly happy for the win. And really, to me, that's the good. They certainly struggled for 3 quarters. The bad was, to me, the penalties, man, the penalties. We kind of harken back to last year, with all the, I was hoping we had cleaned some of that up.
So
but,
now, you think this, and maybe we should go back and give Coach Saban a little bit of a mulligan here. Is this something when you play so many younger players? Because when you look at, if you want to go to Wilkin Formby or if you want to go to another position, another player, you're having to start players. And I'm not here because, I know the NIL changes a lot of the way that we judge players. I get it. But it's almost like you've got to count on players earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. Is there any way that that's a contributing factor?
Well, yeah, I'm like Drew. I thought this targeting penalty was garbage.
Garbage.
Absolute garbage.
I think 2 of the holding calls against Wilkin Formby were garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. The one, the kid just went to his knees. Wilk Formby just fell on top of him, and they acted like he drug him down. He didn't drag him down, but regardless.
Didn't we used to call it a pancake block? Isn't that what they used to call it? I don't know what they call it now, but
the kid really, the defensive end kind of went down on his own, and Formby just kind of laid on him. But they still threw the flag. You had Booker out of position.
This is the same bunch that called Auburn 2 years ago. This is not an all-star crew. You remember the 1 second? They put the 1 second back on? That was the same crew.
Oh, yeah, that was 2019. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, they put the 1 second. But, and the ugly to me was just the overall look of the offensive line for really 3 quarters. And believe you now, Ryan, the teams we have upcoming on the schedule, they're going to use that South Florida defensive scheme because it seemed to work, which it did work. So you're going to see a lot more of the same with the teams that we have coming up, I would think. Certainly Georgia, definitely Tennessee. But I'm glad. Listen, I know there was a lot of people sweating. We did win the game, and I'm with you, Ryan. And I think I know where you're going with this rant you may be going on about some of the fans. Some of those
disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
Absolutely, just absolutely embarrassing, disgusting comments about this coaching staff, about some of the players. And you're idiots.
Well,
I'm calling you all that. You're absolute idiots. Okay,
you said it. You said
idiots.
It. Yeah, and I agree with it. And I've been sharing some of the little memes, and people are trying to be funny and cute, and it kind of reminds you. Listen, this is something, and I've said it. I know I've been on this soapbox. You better get accustomed to these type of mistakes. You're going, like I said, you're going to have to count on players earlier and earlier and earlier. Is Wilkin Formby ready to play right tackle in the SEC? He's going to have to be. It's not about whether he is. He's going to have to be. Until Elijah Pritchett develops a want-to, if anybody's got any other options, let me know.
You got to go with who you got. That's it. I mean, we're at our best when you have Brailsford, Roberts, and Booker at guard, and you kind of take your chances on the outside with the two tackles. Hopefully Proctor. I'm not sure what his status is for this weekend. But
according to Kalen DeBoer, and we'll play the audio clip coming up in a couple of minutes, he's got a chance. I mean, he's got a chance, and I think he said he'll be very, very close. You debate this in your mind. You get that bye week, but here's the thing, Paul. I don't know if you want to roll out your first start against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're going to have to test the waters, with that shoulder. And if he's able to go this weekend, you're going to have to do it. I'm going to have to turn him loose. And let's don't think that he's going to be in mid-season form after missing the first two games either, So, but yeah, you got to turn him loose. If he's able, turn him loose, and let's try to get some cohesion along that front and go up there and whip them Badgers and get ready for the Bulldogs in a couple of weeks.
Hey, Paul, appreciate your phone call, man. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
You got it, buddy. Roll Tide.
All right, so I'm not able to put a caller up against the top right here, but we've only got literally like a minute. Let me tell you about Nuke's Eatery, 205 University Boulevard, 205-758-2455, 205-758-2455. We're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Dr. Richard Wallace writes in, good, the Saban entrance at halftime, the thunderstruck with the lights going on, Saban Field. Yeah, that was a great, right? Bad, 3 turnovers, including one of the red zone. Ugly, 7 offensive line penalties, 2 that including touchdowns. Kalen DeBoer said earlier, 180 yards he added up with what penalties took away from the offensive side of the numbers. We'll go to Greg in Athens coming up in a couple of minutes, and also I'll let Kalen DeBoer give you that audio clip around Caden Proctor. We'll talk to Barrett. All right, we welcome you right back into the game. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Tuscaloosa Toyota Golf Classic happening right now. It started up right here, getting some practice rounds, and then we'll have our Pro-Am. Tuscaloosa Toyota Golf Classic, September the 9th through the 15th. Old Colony Golf Complex. It is the LPGA qualifier. Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Let's go to Greg in Athens. Greg, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well. Hey, Greg. Jackson, I can't hear Greg. Is that okay? Can you hear him? I'll put him back.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there you are. There you are. Sorry about that. My apologies. Our
yes,
apologies.
sir. Yeah. So I was at a family reunion yesterday up in Florence, and I got 3 cousins. 2 of them live up in the Shoals and one in Huntsville, and they both said that they listened to your show.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and so your reach is far and wide, my friend. And I watched the game Saturday night, and I never felt like Alabama was going to lose. And it's amazing. You touched on the depth issue, and you had 3 people playing out of position on that line, and I don't know of any line that's going to play optimally when 60% of your line is not where it's supposed to be. And it was simply a testament when you kind of reshuffle the deck there at the end when Pritchett came in and moved people back around to a more natural playing position, what Alabama can do. So I don't take too much out of that game other than, the defense played really well. And, when the one thing I will say about Milroe is that he has got to get the discipline in his mind to just unload the ball and not go backwards. If you're going to run to avoid the rush, run laterally and then up the field, you've got the speed to do it. But I thought it was, they won. That's the bottom line in today's world. And then, having watched parts of Notre Dame and the Auburn disaster, life's all about perspective. And for those who want to whine and say that Alabama sucks, just look down the road and you'll see real sucking.
Well, and I think really in a lot of ways we're going to have to recalibrate our mindset. And I'm not asking Alabama fans to lower their standard. I get it. I've been around here for a long time. I didn't arrive here, 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I get it. I've been here my entire life. When you look at the standard of Alabama football, it's all about winning a national title. I get that. But in the current college football that we live in, parity is here. And we've got more of it than we've ever had. And we're also having to navigate some difficult waters. And I think this is all by design. Right. Many of these rules, you could really name them the Nick Saban effect. This is where we're at. We're here in college football. And I like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. When college football playoff gets here, the sport that we love, I don't know who's going to hoist up the trophy.
Yeah, it's really going into uncharted waters. I thought before the year began, when we knew this was going to be a 12-team playoff, and I thought this the last few years, that no matter who the 12 teams are in the playoff, the usual suspects will emerge as national champions. But
and that may be the case this year. It may be the case. It may be the case this season. But when you look at it, it's survive. Just survive. And
one of the games I thought would be tougher for Alabama on the road was going to be LSU, and it still could be, but I don't think they're the same team that everybody thought they were going to be before the season started, and they lost their primary running back, John Emery.
They've also lost a defensive lineman, which they didn't have a surplus either.
Yeah. So it's their defense is still kind of burnt toast and all, but I think that Alabama, Caden Proctor, to me, needs to play some in Wisconsin, because you've got the break after that, and then you have Georgia, and you want to have some sense of rhythm and cohesiveness or cohesion on your line before that game, because that game and the Tennessee game are probably going to be the most challenging games that Alabama has this year.
Yeah, we're all recalibrating, as I said. Use that word twice, but we're all seeing who's real and who's not in the SEC. Mm-hmm. LSU looks like a team, and you look at Texas A&M. I know Alabama doesn't have them on the regular schedule, but you look at Texas A&M. That's a team that, that Notre Dame loss seems to be an awful loss at this point. Fair? It's and Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma was going to be a little bit better football team, and then Houston goes out and they don't win the game, but it was double-digit favorite, and where they end up beating it by 2, I think, to Houston. Yeah. So 16-14, I think is what it was.
Well, and see, Ryan, when the line does work, as we saw the other night in the fourth quarter, and there are lanes open for the running backs, they're going to hit those lanes. And we have a much more dynamic running back offense and room than we have in the last few years. And that's saying something, because we've had a lot of guys that have been plotters, and they've gotten the yardage and they've given us great service. But these guys now can hit it at anywhere at any time. And that's something that has been lacking for a while in this Alabama
and
run
maybe game. That's the play, because you want competition. Right? You want competition. Yeah. So you want your idea, and we're going to play this Caden Proctor audio coming up here in just a couple of seconds. When you look at Caden Proctor at left tackle, if he can get back, but listen, Caden Proctor is no Cam Robinson. He is none of the great tackles that we've had around here. There's some growing pains that's going to happen with him. We saw it last year. Go back to Rose Bowl. Caden Proctor, I know he was playing with an injury, and they didn't even know if he was going to be able to go, but Caden Proctor is not your automatic first-round left tackle that Alabama's accustomed to seeing around here.
No, and he could be that later on. But here's the thing, too. I thought about this when you were talking with Drew. As bad as Alabama's offensive line problems were last year, they played well enough to beat Georgia in the SEC championship. So I don't think things are to that degree yet at this point. And let's see how it plays out over the next few weeks. And one last thing in regards to Auburn, everybody's piling on Peyton Thorne. He is who he is. He is a symptom of a bigger problem, and that bigger problem is Hugh Freeze. And Hugh Freeze today is not the Hugh Freeze that beat Alabama in back-to-back years down at Ole Miss.
Good point. And but going back to Auburn has always, if you look at the struggles that they've had, they've always bought their way out of it. You can't do that anymore in college football. They're in this gutter, and I don't know what it's going to take for them to get out. I know an Auburn fan that has to be pretty frustrated because you thought Hugh was going to be able to get you out of this. It doesn't seem like they're close. I mean, we all knew it when they were talking about Peyton Thorne for the Heisman Trophy that, I've got a better chance of winning the Heisman Trophy than Peyton Thorne.
They've paid every coach to leave since Pat Dye. And some of those coaches are still getting paid, not just Brian Harsin. Oh, there's one at UCF getting a paycheck from Auburn still, So I just think here the problem for Auburn historically is that they've never had what you would consider to be a top shelf hire. The only reason that this guy got the job is because a decade ago he beat Alabama twice. And that's it. They don't develop players at Auburn.
Great point. It is that is why Hugh Freeze has got the job. If he didn't beat Alabama, he wouldn't be there. You're right. Just great point. And
if they were really smart, they would hire that Alex Golish guy from USF.
Yeah, he can flat out coach. Coach. He can scheme with the best of them. Great. And I told their athletic director, I said, hey, what would it take to get you guys out of that 2026 game? And he looked at me and just laughed. And I said, you got a pretty good football coach. And he said, yeah, if we can keep him around. I mean, that's the fear. But hey, Greg, appreciate you, man, as always.
Yes, sir. Have a great week and roll Tide.
Roll Tide. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by the Auburn Cheerleaders. Could be the Auburn offense. We could do that if you would like. Roll Tide Raleigh. Roll Tide Raleigh. Good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Roll Tide, Ryan. How your feelings doing?
I'm good. All right? Oh, yeah, I'm good, man. I think, for me, I'm having to recalibrate my expectation. And I'm not talking about this year. I'm just talking about in college football. I looked at that 2014 team being recognized Saturday, and I'm looking out there and I'm going, what would that team was not a great football team. Where would they be now? Dominant. They would dominate the world of college football that we live in.
Ryan, if you watched across college football the last 2 weeks, especially this past Saturday, you noticed that there are a lot at this point in the season because you can improve. Just like Alabama is going to improve. I have no doubt about that. But there are a lot of average football teams out there, Ryan. And I'm talking about teams that we predicted to be, playoff teams. And right now they're average. And would not be playoff teams in previous years. You're right about that.
Well, but we're not going to have undefeated teams. If you lose to Georgia in a couple of weeks, I'm not saying you're going to. I'm just saying when you look at, we'll see what this weekend, maybe we can, spend 2 weeks talking about Georgia, but it's not the end of the world.
Oh, first of all, there's some teams out there, Ryan, that they haven't played a team with a pulse. And I don't think Clemson counts as a team with a pulse. There are a lot of Oregon, Ryan. Oregon very mediocre looking for 2 straight weeks. Notre Dame, we know what it's like to lose to Northern Illinois. Did we not do that about 20 years ago?
Michael Touchdown Turner ran all over us. Oh my! I mean, you brought up some really crazy memories, and that was a unique world of college football. You still have 85 scholarships. It's just the quality of that 85, the depth at 85. I mean, think about the targeting call for just a couple of minutes. Think about if you had back-to-back targeting calls on a certain position. What if you had a safety? Let's just say Malachi Moore or Keon Sapp go out, and you had a targeting call at that area, because that's where a lot of those targeting calls go to the safety coming in to maybe provide some support. Where would you be?
Well, really, Ryan, when the targeting call was first instituted, it was really meant to keep the safety from coming over and hitting and taking out a defensive receiver. That was kind of its original intention. And what it's come into is I don't care what you say, Ryan. That Chester Jefferson, that was a football play. There was no targeting. The guy's not even a defenseless runner at that point. So I don't even know what the rule is targeting wise.
Well, no, I couldn't define it. If you walked up to me and said, I'll give you the $800 million Mega Millions lottery ticket for tomorrow night, but you've got to describe targeting, I'm not sure I could. I mean, I can read the rule, but how it's called is much different. And the SEC officials, what I would like to do is do this. When a player makes a bad call or a coach makes a bad call, at some point they have to come into the media. I'm ready to bring the officials into the media room. If there's one thing the Pac-12 got it right a couple of years ago, is they brought them in to a media, I think it was a pool reporter that went in and interviewed them. I think it's fair. Let them answer the tough questions because everybody else is. Offensive lineman, running back, quarterback. I mean, Jalen Milroe did not have a great game. He had to come in. He did 9 minutes with the media and had to answer the tough questions. Hey, what'd you do on that snap? What'd you do on this? What'd you see here? What'd you see here? Bring those officials in. They're not above the rule. Bring them in. Bring them in. Say, okay, listen, what'd you see here?
You know, and Ryan, we can ride Wilkin Formby. People can ride him all they want to. At the end of the day, he had 3 penalties. He had 3 holding calls. One, the player fell down at his feet, and all Wilkin Formby did was fall down on top of him. The touchdown by Jalen Milroe, he had the guy blocked, and the guy ran away from him. And I don't even think he held him, Ryan. He might have pushed his hands out away from his body with him as he went. And that was 2 of the 3.
Well, and there was another one, and this is never talked about, but there was a slide protection. One of those was Wilkin was actually cleaning up something that Jaden Roberts had missed and got called for the holding. But to explain that to the average fan, you might as well, bring down a molecular equation or something. I mean, it's they had rather go out here and make memes and, little funny, cute stuff like we're back in kindergarten. And I tell you the truth, Stephen, I'm a little bit embarrassed of some of these fans.
I'm obviously missing what you guys are talking about. I'm not seeing it in North Carolina.
All over social networks. It really,
okay.
Yeah, and listen, when you look at Wilkin Formby, certainly he has a lot of local ties but you're held in a perfect scenario. Wilkin would have never touched the field this year. Offensive line's a development position for a reason. Strength, ability. I mean, it takes college coaching to get up an offensive lineman, but he's having to play. You know why he's having to play? Because he beat Elijah Pritchett out at right tackle. Now, and then Caden Proctor gets hurt. They were actually going to rotate that first game. I think they were going to rotate, 6 drives in. They were going to rotate these guys and get, whoever maybe the best guy could win. But Wilkin had beat him out all the way through fall camp. So what does that tell you? I can tell you what it tells me. It tells me Elijah Pritchett likes a lot. Because if you look at Elijah Pritchett, he probably looks better than Caden Proctor from a physicality standpoint. But he doesn't have the want to. He does not have the want to. He's very undisciplined and very... I was just texting a media friend of mine, very inconsistent.
Ryan, I think we had 13 penalties, and 8 of them were on the offensive line. The great thing about that is those offensive line penalties can be cleaned up, and we have not had the same player in the same position on 2 out of the 3 offensive line positions in 2 weeks in a row. We haven't had the starting offensive line yet. So really, people need to chill out about stuff like that. First of all, Jalen Milroe is worlds ahead of where he was when he first started last year. So people need to chill.
In some areas, I think he is. I think he's taken a big step in the right direction.
So, he's got 9 touchdowns in 2 weeks, Ryan. That's right there at the top of college football. He has 5 passing touchdowns. That's in the top 20 of college football. And some of the people ahead of him have played nobody, Sisters of the Poor. So these things will work their way out. As far as the good, the bad, and the ugly, Brian. I still think the good is the amount of players that we're playing and getting experience while we can. I just wonder if, when we get to Wisconsin.
Okay, and let's go back to. I'm glad you brought that up because it gives me a chance to elaborate. I knew that Tyler Booker was going to get the start, or at least a good percentage last Thursday. I kept my mouth shut because I was asked to keep my mouth shut. Okay, because they were trying to get some reps throughout the week to get Tyler Booker. And it's not because Tyler Booker's a better left tackle. It's for what you just said, building for the future. Who knows? You may have to need him. I mean, you're 2 games in. You're already down to your third option at left tackle. So you're trying to get Tyler Booker some reps. You're trying to go. And Roll Tide, Raleigh, you may know more than I do. When you look back, I've never seen a left guard go to left tackle. At least in my recent memory, if somebody else knows a story out there, please help me out because I'd love to know. I know there's been occasions where you had Evan Neal played guard, goes to tackle. Barrett Jones played guard his redshirt freshman season, 09 championship, flipped to tackle. That happens. I'm talking about in a season where you had to slide out and you go. Right. And Tyler Booker, I know, said on the next round, he hadn't played tackle since he was back in high school.
Ryan, I was about to say, I would venture a guess that Tyler Booker hadn't played guard since he was high school, outside of 3 days last week and for that game. 3 days of practice in that game would probably be about it. And, I think he performed admirably. He got a block in the back late on that run, and I think he had one false start. I thought he played admirably. And, I just wonder when we get further into the Wisconsin, which is obviously coming up very fast, and Georgia, if even some of the DB rotation will be cut down to the main guys that we're going to go to war with for the big games. We get Caden Proctor back. We get the right tackle settled. We still have, I think we have the best center in college football. And we still have 2 of the best guards in college football, Ryan.
We do.
If we can just get some...
And listen, the center may be one of the best that you've seen. I mean, when you look at the center, Parker Brailsford...
That guy goes to war, Ryan.
Every day.
Every play.
No wonder Blake... I said Blake. That's his father. James Brockermeyer got out of here. He saw the writing on the wall. I mean, it was Parker Brailsford, and we kept getting reassurance from Kalen DeBoer. Parker Brailsford's going to be okay. Brailsford's going to be okay. Yeah, he knew something we didn't. So, but if you look at the tackle spot, it may not be a strength for Alabama, but there's ways that you can help him out, and maybe it's not without, maybe you bring in one of those wide receivers and use one of your H-backs to help you out a little bit. Get some help. And that was another issue, and I don't want to, go too critical without knowing all the schemes, but when you think about, did they help him out enough? With Robbie Utes out at right tackle, could that have helped out a little bit? Could it? I mean, could they have chipped a little bit? Just a little bit to help. I mean, because you saw Wilkin was struggling. And at that point, when you get those holding calls, maybe they could have helped him out a little bit. And another part we've not seen is the tight end involvement. So I don't think we've seen, the true limits of this offense.
Do you think they've been holding back just a little bit of the offense?
There's no doubt. But, I mean, it's kind of like simple, very stuff with Ryan Williams. They're trying to break Ryan Williams in. And what are they doing? They're go routes. Go.
Right.
They're not using him to the level of, I think, that you'll see him as the deeper the season goes. So, hey, Roll Tide, I appreciate you, man. I got
yes.
Sometimes I feel I've got to.
We went a little bit long there in that first segment. We got Barrett Sallee coming up here in a couple of minutes. Joe in Dothan will lead us out of the gate. We'll talk with him coming up right after Barrett Sallee. We'll spend about 10, 12 minutes with him, and then we'll continue with more phone calls. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by you-know-who. We'll continue. I also want to remind you about Med Center Urgent Care Family Medicine. No appointment necessary. The super...
Feeling like a little kid.
Hey, we're doing our DanielMooreArt.com DanielMooreArt.com. The good, the bad, and the ugly. DanielMooreArt.com. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life. DanielMooreArt.com. You've got the Legacy print, which is an incredible print. It's something that's part of my collection because it reminds me of the last 30 years of Alabama Crimson Tide football, whether it's Nick Saban and whether it's it's Mal Moore. I was about to say Daniel Moore, but and we're also doing our big Alabama game week special. Buy one collegiate classic 8x10 print, get another one 50% off. You can use Drown 'em at the discount. It does expire this coming weekend, but you can always use the code The game, significant discount. And when you check out, make sure that you tell them that you heard about it here. You've got the Daniel Moore 2025 Crimson and White calendar. That we're going to be giving away a lot of those. You got 4th and 31. And that created Fear the Thumb. It created Fear the Thumb. Gravedigger play. DanielMooreArt.com. The legacy continues. Nick Saban print. I know it was all about Nick Saban. By the way, I thought the university did an incredible job of Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium with the lights and the way that, Nick Saban walking out to Thunderstruck and even the pre-celebration prior to the game, and then also the Walk of Champions where they did around 2 o'clock. We filmed that. We put it up on our account, Tide109.com, and also on my Facebook account. Let's go to Barrett Sallee. Barrett Sallee, you can find him on Outkick. You can find him on multiple different publications, smothered and covered on the podcast side of things. Barrett, I hope you're doing well. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Hey, did you know Alabama got beat by South Florida?
I heard something along those lines.
Yeah,
it was a terrible loss.
Yeah, you almost have to stop a little bit and you remind yourself, no, it was a win. It was a win. It was the first 3 quarters were not pretty. It was not pretty, but
no, it was pretty ugly. There's no doubt about that. But it's I think USF's a little better than maybe the folks realize, like dating back to the Jeff Scott era. Like they're better than that. With that said, that something like that's inexcusable. That should not happen.
Well, Barrett, I want to rebuttal just a little bit. When you look at injuries and the current state of college football, can you remember? And maybe this happens. I only focus on Alabama. Yeah, we cover other college football games indirectly, but can you recall a guard having a flip to left tackle 2 games into the season? Because that's where you're at here. I mean, you're at your third option at left tackle. You had to flip Tyler Booker to left tackle, and it really disrupted the entire flow of that offensive line.
It did. It was a disaster. I can't recall that happening this early. I know there's been some instances of that happening. I know Florida, one year during the Muschamp year, I can't remember exactly which year, basically had to reshuffle their entire line before the cocktail party. So there's been instances of it, but it not this early is pretty remarkable to have that happen 2 games into a game and a half into the season with all that's going on. So it usually does not work out very well, especially early on.
Well, I mean, credit for, we look at it, and I thought Tyler Booker did a serviceable job, but I mean, think about the unselfishness of what it takes. I mean, hey, can you play left tackle? Because understanding that every rep at left guard, because he has a chance to be a first rounder according to some of the projections for next year's NFL draft, to go, hey, raise his hand, go, I'll do what's best for the team. Maybe we don't give enough credit to that.
No, we don't. And honestly, like the ability to do that in the middle of a game and not have a terrible game is pretty remarkable. It means you've been paying attention in practice, right? It means you know where your teammates are supposed to be. It means you have a full grasp of the offense and the expectations. So I would imagine when NFL teams start looking at tape and start interviewing them, that will be that'll be looked upon very highly.
Yeah, and hey, you never know. In the NFL, I saw yesterday, what was the Cleveland Browns? They were down to both tackles because both tackles were out. And so then, you're having to make substitutions. And if you can play it, I'm not saying that you can play it in the NFL, but if you could be an emergency with that limited roster that you have in the NFL, it can only add value. But let's go to Jalen. Let's go to Jalen Milroe. Barrett, how have you seen him? Do you think he's taken some steps under Kalen DeBoer?
It's too early to tell, honestly, and I don't want to dodge the question, but, Western Kentucky in week 1, he looked fine. Last week was just a big, giant mess, So I think it's hard to tell until you get a little bit more of a sample size. And he found a way to win the game. Obviously, fourth quarter, everything sort of clicked and they ran away. But I just think right now it's too early to tell, just because in reality, he looked fine against Western Kentucky, like you should, in terms of being a Heisman caliber player. And then last week or Saturday was just a complete disaster in every aspect of the game. But really, most of the reason had nothing to do with Jalen. So I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I think it's just a matter of everybody else around him actually picking up their pieces of the puzzle and getting the job done.
You think Alabama can get back on track? See, even the phrase of my question, against Wisconsin, they're a double-digit favorite on the road. Camp Randall can be a very challenging place, but this Wisconsin team, I don't know if they can keep up with the speed that's in Tuscaloosa.
I don't either, but it's a 16.5-point spread at Camp Randall. I'm just like, that is a lot of more disrespect toward Wisconsin than anything else. But I just think, I'm not saying Tyler Van Dyke is a great quarterback, but he's had a pretty decent season, and it's a tough place to play. I think Alabama will get back on track. I do think that they'll have control of the game pretty much from the outset, but I mean, to expect essentially a 3-touchdown game is that's aggressive. That's really aggressive. But it should be fun, man. Like that. I know Alabama fans are excited. Camp Randall's a place where they have really most likely have never been before, unless they've been with another school or just because. So they'll be tough. I think Wisconsin will punch you in the mouth. And look, if the offensive line isn't fixed for Alabama, getting punched in the mouth by a Wisconsin defensive line isn't exactly the best way to fix things.
Barry, let me ask you about Tennessee. Did you see that coming, that whipping they gave to NC State over in Charlotte?
Yes. But yes, I said it was the easiest bet of the week, that Texas was going to win Tennessee was going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. And it would look even uglier than that. I did not think it would be that big of a win, but domination from the outset, making Grayson McCall's brain go in circles, shutting down every aspect of that offense. Yeah, I expected that. I've never been a big Grayson McCall guy. They only have him and Concepcion. Tennessee is fully capable of managing that, like we saw. And I thought that Nico would have a better game, but it turns out they didn't need him to have a great game because they have Dylan Sampson and everybody else. So, I did see that coming. I was not and never have been on the NC State bandwagon at all.
I know Michigan's down when you look at the Michigan Wolverines, but Texas went up there and gave them a whipping at their place. Wow. And I thought they would miss some of Bo Davis on the physicality. The line of scrimmage has been pretty solid.
Yeah, to say the least. That offensive line was pushing Michigan's defensive front back 5-6 yards. Almost every play, and that's a defensive front that includes Mason Graham. So, it was very, very impressive from Texas. And look, Michigan has its problems. They don't have a quarterback. I'd love to know how bad Alex Orji was in practice in fall camp, because to be worse than Davis Warren is pretty hard. So Michigan's got that issue, but the defensive front just getting manhandled is one of the most shocking things. I thought it'd be a battle in the trenches because Texas' offensive line is really good, but I thought that Michigan would win at least a couple of those battles, and they got absolutely whipped from the moment the game started. That was very surprising to me.
Barry, how would you rank it in the top 4 in the SEC? In order, how would you? I know we're 2 weeks in. We're not going to go, hey, on September the 9th, Barrett said this. Give me the 4 teams that you would rank, and how would you rank them in the SEC?
I've had Texas at number 1 in my SEC power rankings all year. I just think that only solidified what I had already thought, that Texas was and is the best team in the SEC. Georgia's second. I don't think that's very surprising at all. I think we all know what they're capable of. I do have Ole Miss third. I would think that Ole Miss is pretty close to the others, and I had Tennessee fourth in my power rankings. And look, I think that Alabama could easily jump back in that top 4, but I think if we're basing it on this year, just what we've seen this year, I don't see how you can put any team other than those 4 as the top 4. And that's nothing against Alabama, but of the sample size, there was a massive issue. And so that needs to be worked out. So I would have it Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee.
And I guess the bottom 4 is another one that we could debate. I mean, to me, that one's a challenge. I'm in the power rankings by the AJC, and I helped Mike Griffith out with submitting. I have more issues at the bottom 4 than I do at the top.
I'll tell you mine. 13 through 16, Auburn, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Florida.
Whoa. Auburn? Not after.
Below Vanderbilt.
Well, Vanderbilt looks like they're...
Vanderbilt was good, man.
I mean, to Virginia Tech and then backing it up.
Yeah.
A lot of points being scored. I said this earlier, and I kind of giggled as I was saying it, but I was going through Alabama's schedule, and I'm like, all right, at Wisconsin on the road, come back, bye week, get ready for Georgia, and then immediately go right back to Nashville. And I'm going, okay, that was – I'm not saying it's a freebie, because it is, but I think when you look at Vanderbilt on the road in Nashville
it ain't as free as it used to be.
And maybe that's the problem. But let's go to the California win in Lee County. Your reaction to that?
I was pretty shocked that Peyton Thorne was as bad as he was. And I think part of it is that Hugh Freeze just is so dang stubborn with him. Like, he is dead set on making Peyton Thorne the centerpiece of this offense. And he consistently tries to have him throw his way out of funk. And it doesn't happen. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why they just don't do a heavy dose of Jarquez Hunter and the rest of that running backs room and call it a day. Because they can do that. And they just don't. And so, the defense played its tail off. I mean, the defense played its tail off, and it just, the dam broke, which is just like what happened last year. So it was a sign that this program is in a bad way. And you saw today, Hugh Freeze was asked if he's open to make a quarterback change. And it sounds like, yes, that whatever happens this week in practice, he is not going to put that on Peyton Thorne's resume, because if he struggles in the game this weekend, he's out. And it actually goes back to something that I thought about this when I was watching the press conference today. Josh Dobbs struggled to get the Tennessee job because he was so bad in practice, right? But once he got in the game, he was great. Well, Peyton Thorne apparently is great in practice, and he sucks in games, like the exact opposite.
Hey, sorry about that, Barrett. I was doing a little mic drop because I'm chewing on a cough drop. I covered the Nick Saban press box, the walking, and I was out the Walk of Champions, and I got absolutely drenched in southern humidity. And then I walked into the freezer, better known as the press box here at the University of Alabama. We would all be complaining if it's warm, so we're just complaining because it's cold. And I'm talking about cold. I woke up yesterday morning. I didn't even know. I was like, can I breathe? So I was using the mic off button to cough just for a minute, but no. But it does look like that Auburn's in a little bit of a trouble, and that's not just
they are. And I love I don't know about the new Alabama press box, but the press box at the Superdome is the coldest place on earth.
It's what? It is cold too?
It's the coldest place on earth.
Yeah. And we're in nothing against this. We're in an aquarium, and so that, to fairness of them, because the windows, right? But the sun drops, and because it heats that room up, so they have to kick it down. But I walked out. And I'm not saying I have a hard job, but I walked in and I'm literally drenched in that good old Alabama humidity. And then I froze to death for 3.5 hours. I was looking for anything. I went from shirt, polo to a hoodie, and then I was even looking for more. And I went outside to warm up. I said, forget it. I'm going to have to go outside because I was shivering.
Well, lucky for you, you actually had a very dominant Alabama. Oh, wait, no. That was miserable too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Hey, Barrett, I always appreciate your time, man. Thank you again for being a part of our show. Take this final question and talk about everything that you're involved in, SiriusXM, Channel 84, with your Sunday show, but expand on everything that you're involved in.
Yeah, every Sunday morning, 9 to noon Eastern, 8 to 11 Central Time. Tom Luganville and I recap the week on Sirius XM Channel 84. Every single day, College Football Smothered and Covered podcast. You can find it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever. Just search College Football Smothered and Covered, or just my name. It'll pop up there, too. And then, writing for Outkick, I have a story up today on DJ Lagway and how Billy marrying himself to DJ Lagway right now is the only way he's going to save his job.
Barrett Sallee, appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby.
All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something.
We welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. And we'll talk to Martin Houston coming up top of the hour. Let's go to Joe in Dothan. Joe, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Good afternoon, Ryan.
You ready to eat your crow? You ready to eat your crow? Because your team got beat this weekend down in Lee County, man.
I was gonna say I'm here to take my punishment and eat my crow, but the thing is, Ryan, haven't I suffered enough having to sit through the Barner Sallee segment? Ouch.
That was part of the punishment. That was part of the punishment. I did it on purpose.
I know. I said he's doing this on purpose. He put me after Barner, so I have to listen to him.
I did it on purpose. I saw you up there, and I'm like, you know what? I can take him right here. I'm going to sit there. Did you listen to all of it? Did you absorb anything?
I had to suffer through the entire thing, but I'm glad you didn't let him off the hook about the Barners. I thought you were going to for a second. I was sitting there listening, and I said, if he doesn't ask him about the Barners,
it was coming.
I'm going to go ballistic.
I wanted to get the.
But I said, no, he's just baiting him. So I appreciate that, Ryan. Yeah, you know what the worst part is, Ryan?
What is it?
That was the only pick I got wrong. I had Texas covering, I had Tennessee covering, and I had Auburn covering. And the thing is, here's what really drives me nuts, is I literally said this to you. I said, Ryan, I would pick Alabama, but I'd have to score 41-13. So I only have us winning by 28. And I thought to myself, why didn't I just pick that? I would have gotten all three.
Oh, it always, they say if you you go to bed with dogs, you'll wake up with fleas. Well, I mean, Joe, you were pulling for the Tigers, and I don't have any empathy for you, man. I'm sorry. I wouldn't
go that far now, Ryan.
You as everybody. I mean, you hate Auburn. I mean, if we're ranking like the two people that, I mean, Paul and Lincoln is out there by a country mile, but I mean, you and Tony are probably like 2A, 2B.
Well,
Danny G's in there too.
Ryan,
Danny G's in there too.
I had to, and I remember I prefaced it. I said, I'm just trying to win the contest, Ryan. I admit, Ryan, I fell for the hype. I watched them run the score up on that HBCU school, and I heard Kurt Saban raving about them and just carrying that barn water. And I said, my goodness gracious, they've got all these receivers now, and honestly, it wasn't an endorsement of them. It was really just about Cal and how little faith I had in them traveling across the country.
7-loss football team last year. 7-loss football team.
Ryan, I thought it should be. I was so confident. I was like, this spread should be legal. This spread should be 24 and a half. I was dead wrong. I fully eat my crow. And I will never pick the barn to be successful in anything again. I have learned my lesson.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to see. We're going to hold your feet to the fire here. But looking at the Auburn Tigers, when Barrett says it's going to be a rough season on the Plains, I mean, they got New Mexico, a little different from New Mexico State, but who knows? Then they've got Arkansas. That Arkansas game doesn't look like a freebie. Bobby?
No, it doesn't. Now, so was it? I'm confused. Was it New Mexico or New Mexico State that came in there and whipped them last year?
I thought it was New Mexico State.
I thought it was too. Okay, so this is New Mexico,
is New
right?
Mexico, dropping the state. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right.
Then they've got Arkansas at home. Then they've got Oklahoma at home. They're going to lose
all these games at home. It's almost like they've been set up to manufacture a good start, right? It feels very suspicious. And speaking of suspicious,
they got the Birmingham.
Ryan, Gary Harris mentioned that officiating crew we had on Saturday night was the same officiating crew as the 2022 Tennessee game.
It is. Well,
and Ryan, I'm telling you, I do not want to see them call another one of our games. I don't know what we can do to prevent that. Probably nothing. But I really hope we don't see them again.
I wish there was something they could do about it. And I know Kalen DeBoer has to be nice in the media because he could be fined or reprimanded or whatever. But that's probably the biggest difference when he looks at the adjustment is looking at the quality of officiating. And he walks in and goes, whoa, it's SEC. Man, wow. Because I kept watching him in my set of binoculars, and he was livid on the sidelines after 3 different plays. I watched him, and I don't think he cursed, but he probably wanted to. I mean, that was a disaster when you look at some of the officiating. Even I thought 2 of the holding calls could have went. Listen, you can call holding on almost every play.
Sure. And that's what drove me crazy is it was a couple of those, poor Wilkins Formby, bless his heart, he was having a hard enough time. And a couple of those holding penalties were completely bogus, just phantom holding penalties.
Well, and the one that I don't think anybody's pointed out is the Ryan Williams pass interference all the way. Like he held him completely off the line of scrimmage, okay? And he got up, and his jersey was completely off his shoulder pads. His number was on his side. Where they had literally held him all the way down. I mean, it wasn't just a grab. He literally held him all because that's only going to slow down Ryan Williams. I mean, the speed's just real. And the defensive back grabbed him, and the jersey is completely off the shoulder pads, and the number that's normally in the front, by the way, it was on the side. And he gets up, and there's not a flag within sight, and the official was staring right at it.
Yeah, it was bad. And did you see, Brian? They tried everything they could to steal that game away from Cal. That pass interference call in the end zone. When Auburn scored their second touchdown, there was they had I don't know if you saw it, but Cal had intercepted, and it was probably one of the worst pass interference calls they called on Cal I've ever seen in my life. It took away the interception, and Auburn got another shot, and they scored, made it 21-14.
Good point. Bring them into the press room. I'm telling you, that would stop.
Well, here's my thing, Ryan. The SEC and all its infinite wisdom, they love to throw around this stupid slogan. It just means more. Well, if it just means more, why don't you get some competent officials? How about that?
Well, like I said, create an accountability. Bring them into the media room. Every other player has to do it. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, quarterback. I mean, you think Jalen Milroe wanted to come in and talk to the media after that sloppy of a performance by not just him, but the offense in general? You think he was like, hey, man, I can't wait to get in that media room? No. I mean, we had to wait on him for probably another 20, 25 minutes. He probably didn't want to come up there. I mean, I'm not saying he did or did not, but, he a little sloppy, right, from an offensive perspective. He had to come face the music. Why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah. Another thing I was going to ask you, Ryan, you don't have to go into specifics, but I was just curious. I'm not on Facebook, but I am on Twitter, whatever they're calling it, X or whatever. And I didn't really. You were talking about Alabama fans, and I don't doubt it, doing some embarrassing things.
I said probably way too much, but it's. I saw some.
Because I was going to say, I just saw the normal, the normal run of the mill chirping and complaining. I didn't see anything.
No. It was.
But I'm probably not seeing the same stuff you're seeing.
It was disgusting. It was. I was a little bit embarrassed. Listen,
I believe it.
And I've been on the wrong side of many of those debates from time to time, But I think what I said this earlier, and we'll talk about it with Martin Houston, we have to understand. We're going to have to count on – look at the defensive backs. Freshman, right? I mean, you're going to have growing pains. You're going to have growing pains. This is just the new college football. I know that's been my soapbox for 6 months, and it'll probably continue to be for another 6 months. We're going to have
You're right, though.
We're going to have to reset this barometer, recalibrate our eyes to what happens because, hey, my producer's telling me to recalibrate because I'm 2 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock. So, hey, Joe, appreciate you, man, as always.
Thanks, Ryan. Great show. Roll Tide.
All right, so we're going right back to phone calls. us, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. If you want to jump in, we'd love to have you, and we will continue. Let's go to Bubba in Northport. Bubba, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
I think we need to buy out South Florida's contract because I can't handle any more South Florida Alabama games anymore.
I agree. 2026, Greg Byrne, please buy out the contract. Bubba, we're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by the Auburn Cheerleaders. I'm curious, what is your good, bad, and ugly?
Well, the good is we won. I mean, and we decided to play football in the fourth quarter. But the bad and the ugly, there's a lot of bad and ugly. I mean, too many penalties. But some of them were stupid penalties like you were just talking about, like that no call on the pass interference where the guy almost ripped his freaking jersey off. I mean, my gosh, how do you miss that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that's the part when you look at it from the officials, and I know I keep harping on this, bring them into the media room. I mean, I'm not saying we're rough and tough and we're going to be, but let them have an accountability. Don't put them in a van and escort them out of the stadium. Oh, we're just making sure you guys are perfect. Okay. Yeah, can we get you an ice water on your way out? No. Put them in a media room. Explain, because if a player throws 3 interceptions, he's got to come in and explain. Why not them?
Yes, he does.
I mean, we're all human. We make mistakes, but it's almost like we're immune to criticism. Oh, please don't. Please don't.
Right. And poor Thornby, he some of them wasn't holding calls. The guy, one of them, just fell down, and they called him for holding again, and Thornby is already down on the ground when Thornby touched him.
I guess here's my question. On that particular play that you're talking about where the defender, the defensive lineman lost his footing and falls down, what are you supposed to do? Yeah. If you offer him a hand, like a handshake, that's holding too, isn't it? Because you're holding. I mean, like if you're trying to hold him up and keep him from falling, that's holding too. So what are you supposed to do?
I know what dang if you do, dang if you don't.
But I mean, seriously though, if you catch him and you're like, hold on, I don't want you to fall, I don't want you to hit yourself. That's holding too. So, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what we used to call pancake block?
Yeah, the ugly is the officiating for one thing, and the turnovers. What happened? Did Milroe, and I didn't get to see his after-game press conference, did he explain what happened on the 1 yard line when he bobbled the snap? Was it a snap problem?
He said that was on him. He said that was on him.
He dismissed it.
That's what
I thought. But
that's what he said.
Okay, man.
Yeah, it's what he said. I mean, he said, hey, that was on me. Now, listen, Milroe's one of those guys that's going to take credit or blame. I'm going to say blame for himself. Right. I mean, that's the one area that, but we've 2 games in, and we've already had 2 bad snaps. I
don't know if you listened to any of the other shows today, but there was a caller today that really gave him a hard time about how he's a worthless quarterback. It was almost like a Joseph thing. It was either on White Show or right at the first of the middle area. Somebody called and said that he would never put him in the backfield because he's worthless as a quarterback. That's what he said.
I got you. Well, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. I'd have to. I can't make a reference because I didn't hear it.
These people are human. I mean, they make mistakes. I mean, it will get better. I mean, don't dog them out. I mean, why do you want to go to the play?
I mean, Bubba, you live here in Tuscaloosa. You probably saw some of those nasty messages all over social networks. And, hey, it is what it is. I mean, people enjoy doing that.
Right. One quick thought about Notre Dame. I know how they feel because I watched Northern Illinois beat Alabama. Was it 2003 or 2003, I believe it was. I watched that in person. That was ugly.
Yeah, I remember Michael Touchdown Turner. I was I was an undergrad at the University of Alabama, but he ran all over Alabama that evening.
We did.
Well,
all right, man.
Thanks, Bubba.
Roll Tide.
Hey, right back to you. Hey, we have 2 lines available, 205-342-9904. We are free the rest of the way. We're taking your phone calls if you want to jump in. 205-342-9904. Let's go to Josh in Georgia. Hey, Josh, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well, man.
Everything is good except when you got to make that drive back from Tuscaloosa. Because I was at game 1, but doggone it, I got home Friday, and that field dedication was on my mind all day Friday. I buy a ticket Friday night, leave at 5 a.m., and come to Tuscaloosa for game number 2, and man, what an experience. So,
well, to be able to say that you were there 20 years from now when they rededicated the field, man,
it was just awesome. It brought tears to my eyes. It literally brought tears to my eyes because I'm 26. So when Coach Saban come to Alabama, I was 9, so that was my childhood. I mean, really. So Coach Saban was my childhood.
If that was your childhood, you're playing with house money, my friend.
House money. 6 national championships, 9 SEC titles, a numerous bunch of guys in the NFL, 47 first-round draft picks, players at every position by all 32 teams. Hey, that gets a roll tide right there.
And like I said, I've been on my soapbox, and they honored that 2014 team, right? 10th anniversary.
Right. Yeah.
So when you look back, I got looking out through there, and I'd look and I'd say,
wasn't that Missouri? Didn't we beat Missouri for that one? And Lane was our OC. Wasn't that Missouri, or was that one of the Florida ones? No, that was Florida. We dropped Florida like 3 years in a row.
See, 2014. No, we beat Florida. Because that was the Amari Cooper stretch out.
I'm talking, right. But it seems like that was a Missouri or Florida SEC championship. I can't remember exactly which, because Amari was in his last year here and DeAndre White, because there was 2 different plays that year. He did one, Lane pulled one in the SEC championship and one in the regular season. He pulled it with Amari in the regular season. Then he flipped it in the SEC title game and pulled it with DeAndre White. And
yeah, that was the Missouri game. That was the Missouri game. Yeah, but that was the season that we lost to Ohio State. And I look back and I look at that 2014. We had Blake Sims, who was a backup scout team running back, wide receiver. We made him an all-SEC leading passer,
quarterback. Sir.
And he broke the SEC record with Amari Cooper as a Amari would have been he'd been a sophomore. Freshman season was 2000. No, he would have been a junior.
He was a junior.
He was a junior because freshman was 2012. We beat Notre Dame. He had 1,000 yards that season. 2013 made some great catches as well. But 2014 was a record.
He had a 90. And even though we lost the Iron Bowl, he had a 99-yard.
He did. It's still in the record
books. Him and AJ, done beautiful
in the fourth quarter.
But the game itself, we'll go ahead and get into the good, bad, and ugly. But before I do. Is it confirmed that was Jason Autry's ref crew? Saturday night?
No. It was Ken Williamson.
Oh, I thought it was Jason Autry because wasn't Jason Autry the one from the Tennessee game?
No, I mean that was his crew. He's a general manager down in the water department down in Fort Walton. So, did I just let that out? I mean, it needs some accountability.
Let that out.
Okay, well, I mean, you can Google his name now.
I'm gonna write him a nice letter. I won't be worried about it.
Yeah, but he was no. He was not the guy on Saturday. I mean, he's just as bad.
It was just as bad though. So, the good is the fight that the team did not quit. We wasn't satisfied when we made it 21-16. We got that ball back. Our defense stood up, and we drilled 21 more points on them suckers. Now, granted, their coach had him coached up to play because it was such a close game last year. And I don't know if you saw his press conference after the game. Of course, I listened to Coach DeBoer on this fine station of Tide 100.9 in the truck on the way back to tailgate. Thank you very much. But his press conference after the game, he said the game was not lopsided. I said, I beg to differ. When you take a receiver, not just the one Ryan Williams call they missed, but they missed 3 different pass interference calls, Ryan. I don't know if you saw the same thing I did, but I seen 3 missed. They called 1 PI call. I'll give them that one. But they missed 3 more to where they basically took our receivers, and the way I phrased it, you can say assaulted, you can say molested, but they took our receivers from what I saw and threw them out windows and held them off the line of scrimmage all night long. And to me, that's the ugly. I mean, I'm serious.
Well,
Can a ref not call a PI call?
Well, and I think Kalen DeBoer, not that he was criticizing the officials, but he said...
No, I am, though.
Well, you can. He can't. Because
what Coach said. Yeah, Coach can't. I'll take up for Coach. I'll do what Coach can't. But what Coach
he said it was 180-something yards.
My
Jackson,
gosh.
Jackson, do we have that on the audio clips over there? Is it? I think
missed penalties?
There's a point. I'm not sure how it's labeled, but it's about officiating. And he said he added it up, and it was okay. Here. Just listen real quick. Listen real quick. This is Kalen DeBoer earlier today talking about, and he's nice because he can't do anything because he would be reprimanded. But here it is, Kalen DeBoer talking about some of the officiating.
Well, I think for us in that game, last weekend we needed to adjust to how it's being called. And I think that's what you try to just, hey, it's getting called, right? Getting called tighter. And, now we're really able to look at replays and understand, if you didn't see it in the game when it happened live or why it was called, because sometimes it's on the other side of the field from where our bench is at, you can go back and you can see the end zone and wide shot and try to determine how tight is it called, And so, trying to stress that, we got to do a good job keeping it in our hands. We're inside in a lot of cases. We just kept grabbing cloth longer when they were pulling away from us just for that split second and, holding, getting called. And, unfortunately it brought back, I don't know, this is a rough tally, but I wanted to just kind of do my own numbers. I think it was probably at least 180, 190 yards worth of offense, not counting the yards that we lost because of the penalty assessment, and that's a game changer. In the first half alone, I think it was probably at least 180. So we got to adjust and make sure we're playing the game the way it's supposed to be played.
So there it is. There, your reaction.
And then the bad. Well, he says it in a nice way, and I think he's going to be able to take this game and no doubt clean this team up. I haven't seen anybody bash this team yet online. I mean, I'm sure it's there. But if I do, I'm just going to have to scroll past it because I do not necessarily blame the players or the coaching staff. I mean, things just like you said, he said it best whenever they'd try to get away and we hold for just another half second and, hey, we got caught, okay? But the 3 PI calls was the biggest thing for me that they missed. I mean, my gosh. I mean, if you can't tell I'm a little amped and this is Monday after the game, I don't know what else I can do.
Well,
it doesn't do no good to complain about it.
I know it's South Florida. It almost feels like it feels like a loss by our reaction. I'm including me in that because.
Yeah.
But.
Well, no, I read your Good, Bad, and Ugly on lunch break today, and that was put together well. So I like what you had to say.
I got to be honest. I sugarcoated some of it.
I bet, but still, you worded it well. So, and that was a good read during lunch.
Thank you.
But and then the bad. Oh, Auburn. What happened? Oh, man. Y'all let Cal come into Lee County Voodoo Stadium and beat you by a touchdown? What happened? And that's the bad. I mean, I laugh at it, okay? I mean, I know I probably shouldn't, and I know I should be nice, but I can't help it. But any day that we end up winning on the scoreboard, we may not have won the performance, but we won on the scoreboard. We walked out 42-16. We made it respectable, as you said in your article, to the general football fan. But any day we win and any day Auburn loses in the same day is a great college football Saturday. So, and I can't wait to see them play this Saturday on Fox at 12 o'clock, which will be 11 o'clock y'all's time. I look forward to watching that game. And I already had one of the guys from Tailgate say, hey, I got an extra ticket for South Carolina. So we're getting to come to another one this year, Ryan. I love it.
There you go.
It's great.
Hey, Josh, appreciate you, man.
Tide.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, buddy, roll Tide.
Hey, we'll continue with more of the game. John, get ready. We're coming to you. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. R&R Cigars, 2703 6th Street, downtown Tuscaloosa. Relax and recharge. Relax and recharge. R&R Cigars, 2703 6th Street and downtown Tuscaloosa, 2703 6th Street. Be a great place to watch Monday Night Football. Relax and Weekly is that coming down from Nick Sheridan and maybe some adjustments they'll be able to make. We'll get that in the conversation coming up in a few minutes. Right now it's John. John here in Tuscaloosa. John, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan, how are you doing?
Hey, good. Thank you for calling in.
Oh, you're welcome. Most definitely. I wanted to just bring up a point. I was at the game on Saturday night.
Okay.
And having attended Alabama games, throughout the entire Saban era and even all the way back to Bear Bryant. Am I missing something, and I want you to help me out, so that's what I'm asking for. Is it just me, or are we just kind of accepting the defense as they are? Because it sure did seem like they had a lot of people running open, and it sure did seem like they were able to, make conversions. And I don't know, when you got people like Georgia forthcoming and Tennessee and, the passes that had those two teams made, I'm repeating, I realize, but it would have been touchdowns. It would have been down by a lot.
Yeah, I'm just glad Byron Brown can't throw.
It was a blessing to us, make no mistake.
15 to 35, 103 yards, and probably missed, 4 or 5 open passes? Yeah, I think
at least 5.
No, I think we are. I think we are generally overall pleased with the defensive side of the football because of what we saw at A-Day. We knew that there was going to be a lot of growing pains from a young standpoint, going to have to start some freshmen at key spots, and you're seeing that. They're making mistakes. I thought tackling was an area of my concern on the defensive side of the football.
Well, they wouldn't wrap people up and take them to the ground. And I'm just like, guys, come on. I kind of missed the 2015, 2016 defense.
Yeah, John,
people actually scared to play us.
I just don't think we're going to see that.
I don't feel like anybody's scared anymore.
Well, are they scared of anybody anymore? I mean,
probably not. Unfortunately, I think those days are gone, but you still wish for it. You know what I mean?
But Byron Brown, it seemed like that we never could, he had 130 yards gaining on the offensive side of the football. And his net was around 108. But it was not complex what they were trying to do. And we never really made an adjustment to get him on the ground. He ran 23 times in the quarterback spot.
And he always seemed to gain something when he did. And I kept thinking,
let's see what his average was. 5 yards an average. Well, it was almost 5 yards, 4.7. So,
and that's good for a running back, much less a quarterback.
And so,
well, I'm just hoping that that I heard somebody say earlier today, it's time to grow up and put your big boy pants on, and I'm hoping that Mr. DeBoer, Coach DeBoer, recognizes that. Got to strengthen that line. You win in the trenches, and that's what's going to give us the ability to win all the way through. We make the playoffs. Is that strength of those lines.
John, does the first 2 weeks
I just hope
make you
I hope see more.
Reevaluate your predictions for the season? I don't even remember what you picked, but just from your standpoint, 2 weeks in, are you changing, reevaluating maybe some of your thoughts?
Well, what is that statistic? I don't think there's been an Alabama coach that the first year that's gone better than 8-4. I wanted them to do more, but if we don't shore up some of these things between the offensive and defensive line, especially, I'm afraid we're going to be just like the statistic of all the Alabama coaches. And I don't want to be there going into the playoffs, or even if we even have a chance at it, because we got to go to Oklahoma, and I think they're going to be surprising over the course of the year, and then. Of course, LSU, you never know what you're going to get, but it's in Death Valley. Then we got to go to Tennessee, and then we get, Georgia's always a pain in the butt, so not to trying to be crude, but, they're tough. They would have made us pay for those defensive mishaps, and I'm just nervous about who else is going to make us pay and, where's it going to put us relative to the end of the season. And I know it's the first year, and there's a lot of growing pains left to do, but we're spoiled. I'm sorry. I'm just spoiled.
Well, we are. We are when we look at college football, but I think college football has changed so much. I think this is the portal, NIL, the way that we look at college football, it's spread thin. The talent is here. And I think seeing the injuries initially from to remind you the depth is a problem. And it has been. And it's kind of been trending that way, but I think it's finally caught up when you look at depth side of things. To think, John, you've probably been watching football a few more years than I have. I can't remember a time where during a season. Now, you've had situations, Evan Neal went to guard to tackle, Barrett Jones went from guard to tackle. I can't remember in a season where you literally had to start a guard at left tackle. If somebody can think of another one, please. I'm asking because I'm not saying I know. I can't recall that happening in the middle of the season.
I can't either.
I mean, I've seen guards go to center. I mean, you've had that, but a guard going to tackle?
No. Usually those are pretty specialized, and usually they're 2 or 3 deep. And I think you're right. I think we're just missing.
But in fairness, John, maybe this is, and I know Kalen DeBoer referred to this after the game. Maybe this is something that helps Alabama out from a strength standpoint, that you now have an option at left tackle.
Yeah, it might very well create the side effect of increasing the ability of everybody on that line to do what everybody else does. And
it's unlike the NFL where you can't just go pick up a left tackle and go, "Hey, what's it going to cost us?" Okay, perfect. Yep, you're
plug and play. Yeah.
Hey, John, good, bad, and ugly. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good was the win. The ugly was the referees by far. It's just unfathomable that I wanted to say go back to Foot Locker.
I haven't heard that one, but that's a good one. That is a great one. Yes.
Just go sell shoes because you can't call a football game. But that's the ugly. The bad is just, I think, what I led off with. Just, we got to shore up the porous nature of our lines, especially in the first half. Second half, they both got better. You did see that. You did see it applicable there, especially at the end. I think, but injuries and so forth. The bad is just the start of the game. It's South Florida. We should have that quarterback on the ground a lot more than we did.
Fair enough. Hey, John. Let's welcome you right back into the game. Let's go to Bama Nick. Bama Nick, how'd you like?
My song.
I was watching a Kamala campaign over the weekend, and she came out to this song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she came out on stage this song.
I guess Danny G likes Kamala. I don't know.
It sounds like Bama Nick might.
No, you know better than that, fella. You know better than that. And I got a big fella. When I send you a text, like on Sundays or something, and you text me back, "Well, I suck." Fowler, that ain't right. Just because your Cowboys were getting, they wasn't playing up to par Sunday.
Well, I know, but you sent me a message and said 3-0 Cowboys losing.
I said 3-0 on my parlay pick, Fowler.
Oh, I thought you were saying 3-0 and the Cowboys were losing. Okay.
No, I was talking about my parlay picks. I went 3-0, and I said the Cowboys got to tighten up. They ain't doing so good.
And they did okay.
And you sent me back there. Well, you suck. Now, that wasn't nice, Fowler. That was not nice, Fowler.
Well, I know it. I was mean, but I only had 205 messages when I walked out of Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. So,
this was Sunday.
I know, but I'm still catching up. I have not responded to probably. Right now, I've got 29 messages that I haven't even opened. So,
well, you need to get you a what they call them when you well known and sportscasters and broadcasters. Y'all got you got media.
A publicist.
I'm not. Handle all that.
Yeah, I just checked the checking account. I can't afford a publicist unless. Do you want to be my publicist, Bama Nick?
Yeah, fella.
I mean, you've already taken us to the world stage.
I know it. But I still ain't got no NIL money. I ain't got no extension on my contract with you. I mean, my people's working with your people, and I can't ever get no answers. I guess I'm in like DirecTV and Disney. I mean,
Bama Nick, speaking of DirecTV, I put them on the road, man.
Did you? Well, I'm fixing to. The only reason I ain't put them on the road because Alabama game on Saturdays on
Fox. That's right.
I get Fox.
Yeah,
I still get that.
Well, I signed up for YouTube TV. Don't know a lot about it, but I will say this: the channel surfing is not as easy on YouTube TV as it is with Direct. You got to search and type in and all this mess. That drives me nuts. That's why I didn't want to miss the debate tomorrow night because it's important.
That's right. I think it's going to be on what? It'll be on Newsmax.
ABC, I think.
It'll be on ABC too, but Newsmax will carry it.
And what's that guy that's going to be debating it? George Stephanopoulos or whatever?
Stephanopoulos or something.
Yeah. So
I don't know. He's a Greek.
You got anything wrong with Greek food?
No, not really. I just thought I'd throw it in there.
Oh, okay. All right, so Bama Nick, we're 4 minutes.
It's just like when remember we had a conversation about me calling them midgets.
That's not nice.
We call them little people from now on.
Little people, yes.
I call them little people from now on the show.
Thank you.
Vertically challenged.
Miss Kathy's getting you. I can hear.
She's sitting here listening.
Get him, Miss Kathy. Get him, Miss Kathy.
I asked her if she wanted to talk to you today. She said no. I said, well, let's tell Ryan Fowler hello. You know.
All right. So, hello. Hey, let's go back to the game. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good was we won the damn game, Fowler. I had to sweat.
Were you nervous? Nervous.
Halftime, I was nervous. I done drank me about 8 Miller High Life. And that's all I took with me over to Kerry Moore's house was true. I had to go to Kerry's house to watch the game. I had to go there and watch the game. Because I didn't get ESPN because of that Disney dispute, you know.
They went woke. Disney went woke.
That's right. That's right. So I had to go over to Kerry's house. He's got that bootleg TV. He uses it.
How do you get the bootleg TV?
Well, the Fire Sticks and all that mess. I don't understand.
Yeah, how do you get that? Because, I mean, if it could save me $125 a month.
You'll have to ask Kerry Moore. I'll get him to call you and tell you how to do it.
And so I'll tell you a funny story, Bama Nick. I canceled my DirecTV, and I was talking with a friend of mine today, and I get a phone call. And it's DirecTV, okay? And no, listen to this, okay? This super nice lady, she calls in and she says, hey, I want to adjust your bill. And I said, all right, well, I'm here to listen to what you got to say. And she said, we've been able to lower your bill to $155 a month. And I said, ma'am, I was only paying $124 a month. And she said, that's what you were paying? She looked it up in the system, and she said, yeah, that's what I can lower it down to. And she goes, oh, I'm not lowering it, I'm raising it. She just kind of slipped out of the conversation. It's kind of like Hugh Hefner Freeze losing in California. She just said, well, I'm sorry to aggravate you. I was like 15 minutes of my day wasted telling me that you can raise my bill. Well, thanks.
You know what, pal? You know, I heard you talk the other day. I think it was Friday about DirecTV, where you was paying, like you said, about
$125, I think is what it is.
Well, you know what I pay a month? $212 a month, Fowler, for 4 TVs. And I think you said you had 4 TVs, you know, in your house.
Yes, we have 3. We only have 3, but $7 each additional receiver and all these different things. So
and all that crap. But yeah, Kerry Moore told me, I talked to Kerry today and yesterday and every day. He said, Bama Nick, just hang on, they'll settle the dispute. Because I'm thinking about going to some other ways to go and.
Well, I did the YouTube TV, but it was like a 21-day trial. But I'm telling you, the surfing part, like moving from channel to channel.
I can't do that, Fowler. I'm 70 years old. It's too much. Kerry come over here one day and was going to hook me up with the Fire Stick, you know, the bootleg. And then, I see what you had to do. I said, hell, I can't remember all that crap. I like to cut on a TV, go to a channel, and there it is, you know.
Well, I like to be able to hit the instant replay. But, I mean, I only need like 5 channels, okay? I need the sports channels. I watch CNBC for the market. And then I watch I don't watch NBC. It's CNBC. It's the market.
Same thing as communist NBC.
No, it's not. It's different. And then I watch a little Fox with my boy Sean Hannity, big Alabama fan, by the way.
Yeah, Sean Hannity. I like Sean.
And then we're kind of dominant over there on Fox. You got Mark Levin, big Alabama fan. Laura Ingram, big Alabama fan.
I like him.
Hannity's wife went to Alabama. Mark Levin's daughter and his wife went to Alabama. So, got to support those fella. Now, the communists, the CNN, it's in your state. We've got Caitlin Collins up there. She's an Alabama grad, but I'd rather watch turds dry out in a yard or something. Anyway.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Paul. I'm with you on all that.
All right, so give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I
gave you the good. We won the game, Paula. That's the good.
All right, the bad.
Well, I was going to give you the ugly first.
Okay, go ahead.
The ugly is the damn penalties again, Paula. The penalties, of course, a lot of them penalties were a bunch of crap calls. I know, I realize that, but they still counted. And the ugly, for all you Bama people that. And I'm a Bama man now, but took the parlay picks and took Bama to cover. They didn't cover. That's the ugly. They didn't cover the spread.
Well, and what would you say to those who took Auburn? Would you like to call them out too, Bama Nick?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They lost too on the parlay picks.
Yes, they did. Yes.
Bama Nick hit all three, fella. I'm 5-1 on the parlay picks so far this year. Y'all better start listening to Bama Nick.
Let's see how close you were on yards, though.
Well, that's what's going to kill me is that tiebreaker.
Well, you never know. You may be the only one. I haven't went through the parlay picks, but we will.
Yeah, I know. When are you going to have the score prediction winner from last week?
We'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, I got to run, no, Bama Nick. We're.
You always got to run. I think Miss Kathy might have won that one. Check it.
Okay. Well, we'll announce the winner tomorrow. I haven't looked at either the score prediction or the parlay picks presented by Brian Harden Construction. Bama Nick, be good to yourself.
You too, Ryan Fowler. Take care, my brother.
Roll some hands. All right, we welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. Let's go to Kalen DeBoer talking about Caden Proctor, and then we'll go to break, and then we'll come back. We'll reset with phone calls. We have a ton of those. We're going to get to those coming up in a couple of minutes. Digger, I guess I'll have to take you. Blueberry Steve, yes, sir. Marty in Arkansas. Robert in Mobile. Tommy in Romulus. But let's go with Kalen DeBoer talking about Caden Proctor and the injury at left tackle. Possibly could be back before the Wisconsin game.
Caden Proctor, he will continue to work on his functional movement and all that kind of stuff early in the week and keep progression in a way where I feel, we're going to be pretty dang close by the weekend of getting him on the football field. So I feel like he's coming along real well, especially at the end of last week, working extremely hard to get back out there.
Going to be pretty close. That's what Kalen DeBoer said, and I know he was did some warm-ups. You could see him out doing some things. More of about a pain tolerance thing than it is as far as a re-injury there. I guess you could always get re-injured, but it's more about how much can he take. Hopefully he can take a lot. Alabama needs him before they get to Georgia, and you could say, well, let's get him to the bye week. Yeah, that's one conversation about the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life. DanielMooreArt.com. Remember the code word, the game. Significant discount. Also, when you check out, make sure that you tell them that you heard about it right here on the game. Legacy continues. All the Nick Saban prints, whether you're talking about Gravedigger, 4th and 31, taking down the Auburn and setting up what will be in November, Fear the Thumb. They used it against us a couple of years ago. We're using it against them. Fear the Thumb. We're talking about Alabama's victory, 42-16 over South Florida, and we are taking your phone calls, and we continue. I don't know if I want to take this guy. Do I have to take this guy? Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, you know what? I hit the wrong button. That's not Digger. Digger's here. What? I don't know.
You brought Steve in.
Yeah, I did. So make sure Digger's still there, if he's still there. And Digger's the other one, Jackson. I think that's Blueberry Steve. I think Digger's is on. There he is on 5. And see if that's who it is. So I think I messed that up. But anyway, Jackson's working it out over there, and we'll get it here in just a couple of seconds here. He's ready to go. All right, let's try it here. And Digger, who are you? Who are you?
What the hell?
Who are you mad at?
I'm mad at all of y'all, man. What the hell? I call in, and it's been months. I've been busy working my ass off. I'm asking for a little time on the phone with you, okay, to do the good, bad, and ugly, and you're going to pick somebody ahead of me?
I didn't mean to. It was an apology. I've already cut you off once.
First of all, let me tell you this. Shout out to Ann Arbor. Have you ever been out there?
I have not.
It's actually beautiful
Did you
out
go?
there. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. Fans were very nice. They were all kind of like Blueberry Steve, except they were rooting for Michigan. They all sounded like Blueberry Steve, you know? I was like, wow. I said, Blueberry Steve's in the wrong place. So sure enough, I was very quiet, behaved, sitting in there, and boy, let me tell you something. It got loud for a while there. And very quiet, and I was hanging with my guy, and I was being respectful. Then all of a sudden, that idiot defensive lineman, Grant, took a cheap shot at Quinn Ewers. I went off. And the guy said, come on, man, we're in a bunch of people. They're all looking at you. And it's like real quiet. And all of a sudden, I said, I'm sorry. I can't take it anymore, man. You got to be taking a cheap shot at the quarterback every time you knew we were going for the jugular. And he had to do it anyway. Didn't he know if you knock out Quinn, you were going to have Archie Manning coming in? So, sure enough, 2 plays later, they scored a touchdown. And I turned around and I told the lady, I said, I'm sorry, I blew my stack. And then the lady said, believe it or not, she said, we're not with you on that either, buddy. I'm telling you, it made us look weak. Shouldn't have done that. So, very good fans in Ann Arbor. And I got to tell you, I think you would have a nice time up there, buddy. Go ahead and schedule a game with Michigan. I think you would have a good time up there.
You guys are world beaters now, man. You're the king of college football, right?
The king of the blue blood. We got a winning record against Michigan, Ohio State, Nebraska, Oklahoma,
But your trophy cabinet's still empty, though, right? Except swimming and diving.
Volleyball. Don't forget volleyball.
Oh, yeah, volleyball.
Golf, too.
When does swimming and diving season start, Digger?
It's already started.
Okay.
Oh, no, they're taking a break because of the Olympics. So, yeah, no, it starts, I don't know.
You ever been to a
right
swimming and diving meet?
Buddy.
Oh, okay, volleyball, okay.
It's volleyball. And, boy, we are number one again. Come on by and check out the volleyball team.
I'm flying into Austin. I want to hang out with all those liberals and watch volleyball. Because your city. Oh, look at him! Look at he bypassed that. He stepped right over it. Because your city's been taken over by the wackos, haven't they not?
That's not true.
That's what I heard.
Texas is going to take in Trump, and I promise you that. And look, Kamala Harris, I swear. I mean, Jackson was bringing this up while we were screening for calls, and I'm telling you, I think he's smitten with this woman. I think he wants to see her naked or something. I said, Jackson, come on. The girl's a tramp.
That was
not voting for this girl.
Me. That not what she's known for?
That was me. That wasn't Jackson. That was me. I was over there trying to help him fix a little phone issue. We had a little phone wire that was down. So
the good is Drew DeArmond and Josh Football Nerd and Rodney Orr have been exposed. Okay, they're going to have to explain away of this hideous game that y'all played this past Saturday. The bad, okay, I'll give it to you, was the officiating. But if you look at how many calls were made, it was 13 and 11, both of them for over 100 yards. It was ticky-tack calls. You got to admit, they called it even. Okay, and the ugly is Nick Sheridan has some explaining to do. Say what you want. He's got some explaining to do. That offensive line looked ugly. ugly, and I don't even think
he's the
Proctor
offensive
can
coordinator,
fix that.
but it's Coach Capps, the offensive line coach.
Well, I mean, both of them, they work hand in hand.
I mean,
don't you think?
if we had y'all's money, we'd be out here buying offensive linemen.
Oh,
we need to. Didn't
We're
you
not
guys do that a
buying
couple? No,
anybody.
you did a couple of years ago. Any offensive linemen's what? 50,000, 60,000?
Of course.
Yeah.
You're not paying $50,000 there.
We don't have the money
Don't
you
give
guys
me that
do.
crap. You're paying $50,000. I guarantee you're paying $50,000. I know you paid $50,000 for Proctor, didn't you?
Oh, we don't.
That's the only reason why he came back.
We don't have to pay players. They want to wear the crimson jersey.
Oh, that's bull crap. Don't give me that crap. Y'all buy them just like everybody else. Come on. If I'm going to resume my phone calls here, you got to stop whining, okay? The proclivity of this phone show, and I'm telling y'all sit there and whine about the officiating. Stop that. It doesn't make good radio. Okay? Come on.
We can complain
Get
if
the
we want to
fundamentals
complain.
down. I'm not. I'm happy.
I said we
Listen,
can
we're number
complain.
2.
We can complain.
And I want you. Can I count on you to do something with Georgia here?
No.
Because we want to be number 1 when we play them.
Oh.
Okay. Can you do that? Can you do something there?
When is that game?
I believe end of
October 22nd.
October the 22nd? Okay.
I think so. 21st, 22nd, I lost track. It's Oklahoma first, which we shouldn't have any trouble with. But we want that game number 1.
When do you guys
so
play?
I'm asking
when
you.
do you guys play TCU? They're always trouble.
We don't play TCU. What's the matter with you? It's an SEC schedule. Come on.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
Come on.
You guys not going to
It's an
continue the
SEC
tradition
schedule.
of losing to TCU?
I mean,
no.
Are you going to sit there and hound me about the schedule? We just got through playing Michigan. Who have you played?
Hey, South Florida.
Hello?
South Florida, Western
Oh,
Kentucky.
please, come on. By the way, Todd Orlando at South Florida is bona fide. I'm telling you, this was the defensive coordinator. They took down Georgia in the Sugar Bowl when he was with Texas. So it is what it is. He knew exactly what to do with you guys. He's a good defensive coordinator. He really is. So anyway,
I think their head coach is pretty good too. He's out-schemed old Uncle Pete in 2022 up there, Tennessee, offense coordinator. Now he's in
all
South
right,
Florida.
let
He's the
Blueberry
head coach.
Steve have. I will forward my minutes to Blueberry Steve and tell him he's in the wrong place because he was all over Michigan. They all sounded just like him. Let you go.
Roll Tide. Thank you. Blueberry Steve, Montreal, Canada. Blueberry Steve, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
All is well, my friend Ryan. How about you?
I'm good. I hope you are. Yep. Having a good day. Good, bad, and ugly. Good, sponsored by Daniel Moore. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by the Auburn Cheerleaders.
Okay, so my good is a 3-parter. A young man named Jam Miller, another young man named Justin Haynes, and an even younger man named Ryan Williams. Wow. So impressive. So impressive, those young ones.
It's an impressive young man.
Yeah. The bad, well, I mean, all I can say is it was not too encouraging to see all those penalties. Now, I realize the officiating wasn't the best, but there were a lot of mistakes that were made. And that's what I have to say about that. And as far as the ugly goes, well, the ugly was the officiating because it was ugly. That targeting penalty shouldn't have happened. It was ridiculous. But I guess I see it through crimson-colored glasses. I don't know.
Well, we probably all do.
It's hard to be objective, even listening to Digger, I mean, look, as much as I hate to say it, Texas played a good game. Texas played a good game. But I still don't think that Sark is going to... Sark knew the system inside out. what Coach Saban was going to do, right? He learned at the master's feet. He knew. He has no idea how to approach Kalen DeBoer. So if we meet them in the playoffs, which I'm hoping we will, it's not going to turn out very well for Digger and his buddies in Austin.
Well, but we won't be able to find him for 3 or 4 months. That's generally what he does.
Well, doesn't matter. So what else is going on in... Oh, I wanted to say something. I wanted to thank one of the callers. I think he's from Texas. I forget his name. Who suggested Friday or Thursday that I try to watch the game on YouTube. I did, and it worked, and it was great. Fantastic. Very excited.
All right, so you were able to watch. So in Blueberry Steve, Montreal, Canada, doesn't have ESPN like we do here in the States. So he was trying to find an alternative way. Maybe I should have tried that.
Anyways.
So I told DirecTV they could go pound sand. So and then
you were talking about,
and they called back today and offered me a better deal. They told me they'd raised my rates for $30. I'm like, now hold on a minute. You're going to take channels away from me and then raise my rate $30 a month? And it was one of those not automatic calls, but it was one of those that they always set up after you cancel your service. So
it sounds like Kamala offering everybody a better deal economically, right? Same type of.
Oh yeah.
Same approach.
Yeah.
Same approach.
Hey, but gasoline's falling though. It's falling.
Yeah, I know. It's cheap. It's getting cheaper. I don't know why. Who knows? But whatever.
We can't afford to travel, so we have to. It's.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, yeah. How much time do I have? I don't want to take up everybody's time.
Yeah, about another minute. I'm going to try to get some more calls in right here.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to say that the way that the game turned out at the end was great. It was good to see, even though we started off weak, or when a team and a player and like Jalen can turn things around. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, I think I texted you. I loved watching Jalen Hurts passing to Devonta Smith, and the only thing I liked better was watching Tua passing to Waddle. But can I say a second thing about the ugly?
Yeah, quickly, because I got to get to this break.
The ugliest was the way the Miami-Dade police, what they did to Tyreek Hill. Did you see that?
I did see it, but I don't really know a lot of details.
So I support the police wholeheartedly. I support the military. My son was, 4 years in the reserves, but there's always a bad apple, and I don't know what happened, but there's no reason to put the guy in there, lie him on the ground, and put him in cuffs. None. Anyways, roll Tide and roll MAGA, and we'll be watching tomorrow night.
All right, it is the Pharmacy at Midtown, TJ Thomas, the Nick Saban of pharmacists. The Pharmacy at Midtown, TJ Thomas, the retail side, the only sterile compounding facility. But it's more than just that. It's all the compounding needs. Maybe it's that hard to get medication. Maybe you and your physician agree upon a different dosage, and then you're able to get that medication. Well, I can't find that medication. You can at the Pharmacy at Midtown. The Pharmacy at Midtown. We've had a lot of audio. We do have one line available, 205-342-9904. Let's try Marty, Arkansas. Marty, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well, man.
All is well, Ryan. Ryan, one thing, I don't care what they say. Those guys were wide open. He overthrew them. That don't mean Georgia's or Tennessee's quarterback can hit them. There were games, I watched NFL yesterday. There was a guy five yards down the field by the other guy, and he overthrew him. It happens. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It happens. And that quarterback, he could play for some SEC schools. Another thing you got to take into account, these small schools get NIL, and they get transfer portals too, and they get our reserves that were good, and they start at their schools. They're not the Sisters of the Poor anymore. They're when they come to play, they play. And that's what you got to look at too.
Well, it's probably their Super Bowl, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, it's that, and they come into play to prove that they could play, and they didn't get a chance at a D1, maybe at Alabama or Georgia and that, and they're playing at Northern Illinois or wherever, but they're playing and they show out and they get asked to go to the NFL camp, and then they get in the NFL. I mean, that's it's not, like you said, it's not the Sisters of the Poor anymore.
All right,
they
Marty.
And the good is that we finally started playing when the refs weren't cheating. They're against Alabama, those refs. I watched a football game with 2 state coaches that won 6 state championships in Arkansas. One of them said he would have got fired because he would have went on the field twice and got thrown out of the game because he says there's no hold on Galen's run down the sideline, and that was holding all the way when that guy did that, and that wasn't targeting. He said the guy broke down right and went to hit him in the chest and called targeting. He said that was the worst call he's ever seen in football. He says that's the way he tells his players in practice to break down, go hit the guy right there. And that's what makes me mad. These refs are against them. See, in basketball, you can knock 2 refs off your schedule if you don't want to call your games anymore. But you're not allowed to do that in football. But the good is that once the refs quit throwing their flags on both sides, where neither team could get in a rhythm, once we got in rhythm and they weren't at the 6-minute mark, we played Alabama football. We got Hollywood in space, and he took off. We got Galen in space, and he took off. I didn't have no worry about the game, just like the coach told me at halftime. If Alabama wasn't behind the sticks, they couldn't play the way they played. We were always 10 or 15 yards behind the sticks, and they got to dictate it. Once we got ahead of the sticks, they couldn't dictate to us, and we got to dictate to them, and we got to play our kind of football. I wasn't worried about the game. I was just worried about how bad the refs were calling the game and wouldn't let them get in the flow of the game. Once we got in the flow of the game, we played Alabama football.
Gotcha.
The good we won, the ugly, the refs, and the defense was good. And the coach, like that state guy the coach threw in the flag. He threw in the flag because he knew he couldn't get that, and he kicked that field goal, and their team gave up. That's what that one state coach said. He never should have. He should have went for it and kept his. If he didn't get it, at least he showed his team he was trying to win the game. Because like the coach said, he was down 7 points. He still needed a touchdown. When he kicked the field goal, he still needed a touchdown to win the game. He said the coach just gave up right there, and that's when the team gave up. But I don't, I'm just going by. They knew more football than me. They got 12 state championships between them, and I watch it with people that coach 7-8 football.
You said they were not Alabama fans?
They weren't. They're just football fans. Sure. High school. They're just high school football fans, and they watch it with me. And they help. They use. If I ask them to come watch the game with me, or on Sunday help, if I can get it replayed, they replay it and then they break it down for me. It's pretty cool. I mean, they know football. I mean, one's coached for 30 years and one coached for 25 years, and at 7-8 football. And they know football, and I know a lot of football coaches. I always wanted to be one. I went to a lot of schools, but my education couldn't get me in. But I know it and like basketball. But I've had a lot of good teachers. But I mean, Ryan, I just don't think this team is bad. Everyone's knocking the team. We still, when we got to play Alabama football and the refs wouldn't put us behind, look what we did. I mean, when it's 1st and 20, you're behind the sticks, like the coach said. I mean, look at it. We were so far, and we couldn't get no rhythm. I just don't think the team,
There was no rhythm. I mean, I kind of wrote that in my article. Not saying that it's exactly, but the rhythm.
There was rhythm the last 6 minutes of the game when we weren't behind the sticks, and those refs weren't cheating.
I don't know if you want to call cheating. It just
they don't know the game, Brian. Those two men. That one coach said he would have been out on the field so quick that he would have got thrown out of the game on Gelro's call.
Hell, I mean, Kalen DeBoer worked him, man. He worked those officials.
I know he did, but I mean, there's where you can't work it so hard where you're gonna get a 15-yard penalty or get thrown out of the game. But I mean, there's where maybe he worked them hard enough in the last 6 minutes. They said let's quit throwing, because even Chris Stewart said, because I listened on the radio too. Chris Stewart said, man, sometimes you can call it holding every time, and sometimes you just get flag happy. I mean, there were 13 and 11, 24 flags thrown in that game. That's a lot of flags.
All right, Marty, thank you, man, for your phone call.
All right. Hey, we're all tired, and we're going to roll up in hey, when you go to Madison, you're going to be up there with
I'm not going to Madison. Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? All right, good, because you'd be up there with a bunch of blueies.
A bunch of what?
If you know what I mean. A bunch of blueies.
Oh, blueies?
Blue State.
Oh, it's a blue state?
Yeah.
It's a bluey?
Yep.
Okay.
The blueies. That's what I call them.
Got to watch them. Got to watch them. Got to keep your eye on them. You never know.
Madison's the most, whatever you call it, college. Wisconsin's the most, whatever you call that, to the right.
Listen. I can debate them. I went to school at Alabama.
I know you can. Yeah. I know you can. You got a good, Ryan, you got the best show on the earth, so that's good. All right, hey, I'll call you tomorrow. I'm going to write down some stuff, because I'm going to go talk to Coach, the A-State coach, about the game and about his game.
All right, thank you so much.
I'll yell at you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. It is The Wharf since 1976, the working Western headquarters for the entire family. You'll find The Wharf on McFarland Boulevard, right there conveniently located on the westbound side of the road as you travel westbound between Elgron, Patreon, and also Blue Plates. You'll find our good friends right there. If you're thinking about dove season that started over the weekend, you'll find the camo options, working Western wear for the entire family. You got the boots, you got the Western wear, Wrangler, Levi Lee, you find those, Carhartt clothing, Rocky clothing. We'll actually talk offensive line tomorrow. We got Mike Detillier and also Mike Johnson, former All-American offensive lineman at the University of Alabama. Mike Johnson is going to share some thoughts on this offensive line, and we're going to talk about it. I mean, listen, we love to feature the offensive line, the former offensive lineman, to kind of help us understand it, and we'll see if Alabama can get back on track. I know one of the things that they're doing, and I'm gonna kind of pick Mike Johnson's brain. Maybe he can share some things with us. We'll talk about it right here on the game. Let's go to Robert in Mobile. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, man.
How are you, Robert?
I heard I've been accused of picking Auburn to win. I plead the fifth.
Robert, you were the first call out of the gate. First pick was Bama. Second pick, Arkansas. Third pick was Auburn. The Cal College. You did, Robert. Unless there was an impersonator, unless this was AI. I've got you on record, man.
I'm pretty innocent until proven guilty, despite our justice system being a little crappy now, especially if your last name is Trump. This weekend was definitely eye-opening in a lot of ways for these teams. I just didn't think we, suck lemons like we did this again against USF. I thought they would have something to prove, which I guess we thought they would have something to prove, but I guess it's just not how it goes. I don't think it worries me, of course, is not how they played against USF, but in my opinion, this is the toughest schedule any Alabama team has ever had to play in the history of Alabama football. In my opinion, I mean it's a horrible schedule, and if we're going to run it, we need to have a lot of things ironed out before we have to run the toughest part of the schedule. And the fact that offensive line still is a work in progress. Well, there's not a whole lot of time to make progress. This weekend is when it gets real. You can't stumble against any more teams like that again and expect to run their schedule. Because, I mean, Texas, of course, is real, which I kind of figured that before. And the Georgias, and now Tennessee's in play. LSU can sneak up on you. Oklahoma. This is not a room to try to figure this out. This needs to really get figured out really quick. And Wisconsin is up next. Fortunately, they like to play in a phone booth, so that helps Alabama out tremendously. But that can get away from me, too, if we turn the ball over too many times. I agree with all your calls about the officiating. It was horrid. Those referees were in love with their flag. And I don't know if anybody mentioned it or mentioned it, but you saw the receivers get held a couple of times when they're running their route. The jersey's getting pulled.
Oh, Ryan Williams got his shirt, okay? And you can't tell me because look back at the play, okay? Watch the play that I'm talking about. Ryan Williams got held from the line of scrimmage all the way until the ball. Now, he almost made a catch. It was an incomplete pass, but it was almost a catch, okay? His jersey, his number 2 jersey was all the way to his side. The shoulder pad jersey was completely out of his shoulder pad, and the official is staring right at it. I mean, literally. He's not staring at another player. There's no crossing pattern, nothing. He's dialed in on it. So when I see stuff like that, I have to question integrity. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. And I'm way across. I don't have nowhere near the good eyes. I can see that one.
Now, Ryan Williams is going to have to learn to complain. I know he may not like to do that. But you see those prima donna receivers that practically mug the referees complaining that they're being pulled on. Hopefully, I mean, he's only 17, young. So he hasn't been trained to do that.
Well,
yet.
that was the one that Kalen DeBoer got him some and went back and got some more. That was the one play that I'm like, whoa, he is lit up. And then the one that was grounding, where they called Jalen Milroe for, I think it was grounding or what was it? I think it was what it was, grounding. That was 2 plays that I looked in my binoculars. He wore out that official. Good.
Yeah, they need to realize that people didn't pay money to watch them throw flags on every play. Wait for the egregious stuff.
Robert, the SEC's really never been known for quality officials. And I think the one thing is, don't we have I think it's a former Alabama guy that's one of the lead officials in this, so we don't get him because I think his crew is one of the top crews. Now, I know Jason Autry is one of those as well. It's highly ranked. But this clown is the same bunch that called across the state.
Yeah, I mean, with John Madden, as one said, you can throw a call holding on every play.
You can. Yeah, and you know what? That's a question that we'll ask an offensive lineman tomorrow. We'll dive into it. See if they can. If that's a fallacy, if there's any truth to that, because you hear that all the time.
Well, I feel like when Alabama, they don't want to give Alabama, situational calls. When hey. At this stage, you got to stop being ticky-tack. I can never get that in that Tennessee game. We all remember that one a few years ago with a ticky-tack call that completely changed the dynamics of a game. You don't do that. But now, granted, the team made some mistakes, but the referees with their ticky-tack calling, I mean, that was just getting ridiculous. But, yeah, we definitely need to iron things out. The offensive line is definitely too much of a work in progress. Milroe is still running for his life. He does not need to be running for his life against the USF of the world. Because he's going to have plenty of that against really tough defenses. If we can't figure it out with them, I'm going to figure it out with other defenses. Because Georgia, right now, in my opinion, I know you had that Texas guy call gloating, but it is right now. It's Georgia, Texas, and everybody else. And Alabama right now is in the everybody else category. We can get ourselves out, but it's going to take some work, And I agree with you on one thing. You said that Alabama, we need to get you a new paradigm, but you're not saying we should lower our expectations. Yeah, we should lower our expectations with this new era of college football. Our expectations has always been championship or bust almost every year. I mean, that's unrealistic goals and anymore. You know, an undefeated season is almost an impossibility. It's kind of really unfair because if we were in the ACC with Clemson's schedule, then all this would be moved. We could run that schedule, but we got an SEC schedule to run. So we got to figure all this stuff out and get it ironed out. So right now, next weekend, it's getting real. We can't play like that anymore. Otherwise, this season can get away from us really quick.
I got you.
And that's the big point.
It is the greatest time of the year. Kickoff is here and football is officially back. Motivate when you look at Underdog Fantasy, over 1 million fans across 33 states. Get in the game. Last year, by competing, an Underdog went up to 1,000 times your money by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players. You could talk about college football, NFL. You got Monday Night Football. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over Underdog, simple to use mobile app, UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code Fowler. Underdog will give you the free pick to use on your first cash champions entry plus $1,000 in bonus cash. When you deposit, that's Underdog Fantasy promo code Fowler, Fowler, to claim your new customer special of the free pick and deposit offer. Must be 19 in Alabama, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Ray in Gadsden. Ray, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well. Hey, Ray.
Fine, thank you. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good.
Yes,
thank you for calling.
Is any of your crew going to the game this weekend?
I don't think so.
In Wisconsin?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you?
We've been to a lot of games over the years. We only go something like this once in a while, so we're planning on making the flight up.
That'd be an awesome
Friday
trip.
And
be an awesome
going
trip.
To Madison. Yeah, it'd be fun to see. I guess Alabama's theme needs to be just clean things up, doesn't it?
I agree. That would be a good way. Clean things up and be a good option. If they could, then maybe they'll be the team. And I'm right here at the end of the show. I don't have a lot of time, but anything else, Ray?
Okay. Yeah, that's all, and it's good to talk to you.
Hey, thank you, Ray. Thank you. Tommy and Romulus, about a minute right here. Let it rip.
Well, I'm going to make it sweet and not so nice.
Okay.
Can you get me tickets to the Birmingham Bowl? Because I've never heard such a spineless Alabama fan in my freaking life. I thought they act like we lost, we won. It wasn't pretty, but wins is a win.
Got to run. Got to run, Tommy.
All right, man.
Reminding you that we call this program The Game, and the only way you can win the big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night to you now.
Can understand my dream. Yeah, I could be anywhere, and you could be there with me. But I just wanna be.
Thank you for listening to The Game with Ryan Fowler.